The doctor asks Dong-gyu if he is awake and asks if he feels uncomfortable in any way. Kim Dong-gyu is on the hospital bed, and the doctor is briefing about his condition, that his liver damage was avoided by gastric lavage, and his sister had a very hard time till then. He looks at her crying sister and wonders what is going on. His name is Yoon Suk, and as the director of SH Real Estate Investment Company until the day before. The president questions him about his resignation and asks him if he will stay if he is not willing to let him go. Yoon Suk responds that he is willing to stop everything and wants to rest. He was murdered that same night, and again, after opening his eyes, he found himself in Dong-gyu's body. It was hard for him to understand what had happened to him. After a while, his sister is concerned about Dong-gyu's well-being and tells him to inform her if he is feeling unwell. She questioned his will to discharge quickly from the hospital, even though they were against the decision and wanted him to take some more rest. Yoon Suk in Dong-gyu's recalls about Kim Dong-hwa, his sister. For some reason, the memories of that body come to mind very naturally to him. He thinks of Dong-gyu's pathetic nature, since he was trying to die, leaving his sister alone. Yoon Suk feels like he was the one who did wrong and starts to apologize and claims not to repeat such things again. Dong-hwa was dumbfounded to hear his words and told him to not do those again. With tears of joy, he thinks of reassuring themselves for the time being while wondering whose life he has to live from now on, Yoon Suk or Dong-gyu. As soon as they got out of the cab, they were faced with two thug-like persons who seemed to know Dong-gyu. They commented on his pig-like appearance and concluded that the medicine hasn't worn off by looking at his dumbfounded expression. His sister tries to guard him by coming in between them and threatening to call the cops for trying to bully her brother, in a shaking voice. With a brief look at her, they ask her to call the cops as she says and wonders what will happen, if a police officer will come to save them or not. Yoon Suk walks in front of them and advises his sister to stay back and asks the thugs about the business they have with them. One of the thugs asks the other if he was always scary like he is now. The other person tries to get to the point while ignoring his question and takes out an envelope from his bag and proceeds to give it to him. Yoon Suk in Dong-gyu's body questions about the envelope. He replies it is the consolation money which is given by the director. Yoon Suk begins to remember the reason for such consolation money, and the reason for them to approach him is because of that thing. He identifies them as Park Cheon-suk and Song Dae-young as the big guy who harassed Kim Dong-gyu and his family until they were sick and tired of it. Song Dae-young screams at him for not taking over the envelope from him since his hands were paining by holding it. After Dong-gyu takes it, Song Dae-young says that he is finally able to understand the situation, now that he is back alive. His sister catches him from the rear and pleads with him not to take that money from them. With a sad face, Dong-gyu asks them to leave them since he has accepted their money. They advise him not to do anything unnecessary and to live silently hereafter, and the other said to try and kill himself again this time, before leaving. In their home, Dong-hwa screams about his thoughts while taking the money from them, and questions if he was mad since it was the price of their father's life. She claims their father won't be able to rest peacefully now that they have received their money. Looking at the picture of his dead father, Yoon Suk knew about him even before having Dong-gyu's memories. He is Kim Yong-suk, who died at his office. Yoon Suk's heart is feeling heavy and suffocating when he realizes that it wasn't only him, but even Dong-gyu's family has been affected. Yoon Suk almost feels like he can understand the exact feelings of Dong-gyu and thinks he might have been able to save these people if only he didn't hesitate back then. Kneeling to the picture of Dong-gyu's father, he promises him that he will take responsibility for his family and his son's body and also take revenge, although it is a bit difficult at this time. He decides to lose some weight at first since he cannot do anything with his current body. He thinks of becoming strong and decides to pay the debts of his chairman and John Yong-won. He thinks that this revenge isn't only for Yoon Suk or Kim Dong-gyu, but for all of them together. A figure in TV welcomes the audience to his home training TV show. Today, he proceeds to brief them about squat position. He continues to perform squats and describes the technique and the correct way to perform it. He claims it is a very basic movement and decides to skip it for the day. Yoon Suk in Dong-gyu's body tries to perform a squat thinking it is a basic movement and quickly falls on the ground due to imbalance. He thinks of being very careful with the body which cannot even perform a single squat. While he is thinking of registering for a gym membership, which might cost him more money, his sister barges into his room claiming that an earthquake has come. She asks him to evacuate the apartment since it is shaking. Yoon Suk replies that he fell on the ground while working out and it was not a real earthquake. His sister is shocked to listen to his brother uttering the words working out and wonders if he is really trying to work out. With a shy look on his face, he asks the reason for her looks. She thinks he looks determined, and he is acting strangely from the time he got out of the hospital. Yoon Suk wonders how Kim Dong-gyu has been taking care of his body for all this time after seeing the unbelievable reaction of her sister. She reminds him about the money he has taken from the thugs the other day as compensation, to use it and buy workout equipment for himself. When he points out that he is not allowed to use that money on her word, she replies that he shouldn't have accepted the money in the first place, and that she is still mad at him. She continues to say that their father will be happy knowing that he has goals and aspirations to achieve. She then exits the room after saying not to hurt himself while working out. Yoon Suk thinks she is difficult to read and thinks about having an additional income source even though he got the permission to use that money. He realizes that it will be tough with the obese body to find a part-time job and thinks to find a way to make money while working out. Suddenly, some memories of Dong-gyu pour into his mind, which recalls his thoughts of starting a YouTube channel or a live broadcast, and the possibility of it going viral. Yoon Suk catches the idea. A YouTuber named Dukbae TV goes live and greets his audience, who pours congratulations for his 1 million subscribers achievement mark. The host decides to do a Dukbae's treat and thinks of finding one channel and giving them all of it. In a list of live streamers, the persons who are watching his stream spotted one streamer who is doing exercises. Dukbae decides to visit this unique channel and announces it to his chat thinking that it might be a good channel to talk about. After he opens Dong-gyu's stream, his chat explodes with comments on his weight and raises various questions on his motive in streaming. Dukbae asks not to get too stereotypical and judge him since he is doing his best to maintain his health. The audience in Dong-gyu's stream takes notice of the famous streamer Dukbae in his chat and tells him that there is nothing unique about this channel other than working out, according to the amount of money given to him. Dukbae thinks of making this interesting and donates 100 stars and asks him the reason for him to start working out. Dong-gyu thanks him for the money and proceeds to perform jumping jacks as per the request. Dukbae then donates another 1,000 stars for grabbing his attention. Yoon Suk in Dong-gyu's body catches his attention and thanks him for the 1,000 stars and announces that he will perform 100 more additional squats. He thinks this way of earning money and gaining recognition through an internet broadcast might help him gain more information from his followers and decides to work harder to earn a lot and use that as a weapon. After 2 weeks, he climbs up the stairs claiming to have worked hard for nothing, except for his stamina has increased. He takes a look at the posters in front of the gym's entrance, which has an old-fashioned poster. He thinks the owner might be a skilled one or a scammer while entering into the gym. Looking at the equipment and the ongoing training, he concludes the inside is quite ordinary. He looks at the 2 persons inside the ring who are training. The coach knocks the opponent during a demo match and advises him to not keep his steps in such a manner. Yoon Suk wonders if that person is the gym's director, as he looks quite different from the pictures. He looks at him and announces that there is a guest in the gym. As he realizes that the coach isn't the gym's director, a silhouette appears at the side of Dong-gyu and offers his help. He replies he is here to learn how to work out properly. The person says that he has done a good job in coming here and welcomes him to Park Hoon's gym by making the same pose as that on the poster and introduces himself as the gym's director. He confirms if Dong-gyu is here to lose weight and claims he will make him get rid of all the fats within 3 months. He thinks of him as a scammer and that he is not here to lose only weight but also to make himself stronger, since the SH real estate company is filled with gangsters who will kill people without any hesitation. Listening to him, he replies that he will be making him the strongest man ever. With a depressed face, Yoon Suk confirms that he is looking like a scammer. In the past, an elderly person is standing in front of Yoon Suk with a crowbar in his hands with an angry expression. He asks the elderly to calm down and listen to what he has to say. The elderly shouts at him claiming he is not going to sell this piece of land no matter what he says. Yoon Suk replies that this proposal is something that the elderly would even find acceptable. Pointing the crowbar at Yoon Suk, the elderly man asks him about the kind of land he is asking him to sell. Yoon Suk was aware that the land in question was valued at less than 3,001 per square meter. The government had announced plans to create a large-scale development zone in the area within a few months, and a company was employing various methods to acquire land at a low cost, with the exception of one particular property. The elderly owner insisted that this land had provided for his family and refused to sell it. Yoon Suk unexpectedly offered to assist the old man in locating his son. The old man was taken aback. Yoon Suk inquired whether he had a son who had not returned home due to a gambling addiction. The old man wondered how they had learned about him, and Yoon Suk explained that he had heard about him from the community and that he would locate and return his son because the locals were concerned about him as well. When the old man refused to acknowledge the gambling addict as his son, Yoon Suk advised him to observe the men standing behind him. He clarified that these men possessed a unique ability to locate people and assured the old man that his son would never gamble again. The old man urged Yoon Suk to keep his word as he retreated into his home. Despite conceiving this plan, Yoon Suk ultimately failed to fulfill his promise to the old man. In the gym, Yoon Suk, who was in the body of Kim Dong-gyu, was punching a sandbag while recalling an incident. The instructor, Hyun Cheol, and the director, Park Hoon, approached him and warned him that he might hurt his hands if he continued punching without gloves. They gave him a towel and complimented him on his hard work. Dong-gyu admitted that it was challenging but enjoyable and requested that they speak to him casually since they would be seeing him regularly. Both of them agreed and asked him to do the same. Hyun Cheol then inquired about any pain in Dong-gyu's hands or wrists, to which he replied that it was normal for him. When questioned about his previous workout experience, Dong-gyu revealed that he had only worked out at home for 2 weeks. As he tried to recall Dong-gyu's memories, Yoon Suk realized that he had never been to a regular gym, which made him feel depressed. The instructor advised him to take breaks and inform them if the training became too intense, as he should not strain his joints or ligaments. Hyun Cheol agreed, adding that some people injure themselves by pushing themselves too hard for no reason. Dong-gyu appreciated this concern and requested that they challenge him more. The instructor praised his confidence, while the director observed that Hyun Cheol hadn't noticed that Kim Dong-gyu was tearing the sandbag with an unsteady posture and thought an extraordinary person had joined them. The director commended Hyun Cheol for choosing the best-fitting gloves. The instructor proudly showed off his boxing skills and began teaching Dong-gyu the basics. He warned Dong-gyu not to be discouraged if his body didn't immediately respond to his commands. The instructor started explaining the importance of footwork, which confused Dong-gyu since he expected to learn about fists first. Hyun clarified that the basic stance in boxing, whether it was a jab, hook, or any other technique, began and ended with the feet. He instructed Dong-gyu to raise his guard, spread his legs shoulder-width apart, and keep his back feet from moving outward or inward. Once Dong-gyu managed to get into the right stance, Hyun demonstrated the footwork and then the jab. Before Hyun could continue his explanation, the director interrupted, yelling that they hadn't even started on step training and that Hyun shouldn't be teaching the jab yet. While the director and Hyun argued, Dong-gyu practiced the technique shown by the instructor, hitting the sandbag with impressive force. The director watched Dong-gyu's training and called him a monster, and not just an extraordinary athlete. He noticed that there was room for improvement and decided to rethink Dong-gyu's training regimen. Meanwhile, the instructor asked Dong-gyu if he had ever been to a gym. On the television, there was news about the government starting to build an industrial complex. The instructor thought that the landowners in that area might have become wealthy. Dong-gyu believed that the SH real estate company had won the case and should have kept their promise to the elderly man. Determined not to accept this reality, Dong-gyu decided to become stronger. He asked the instructor what came next in his training. After several days, Dong-gyu appeared with a leaner body and continued practicing with a sandbag. The gym's director told Dong-gyu it was time to close and go home. The other kids had already left, and Dong-gyu was surprised that it was already so late. He had been so busy working out that he didn't realize how fast the time had passed. The gym director was impressed by Dong-gyu's hard work and improvement. He wondered if Dong-gyu was interested in entering a competition. Just as Dong-gyu was about to head home, the gym director showed him a poster for an amateur martial arts competition. He explained that anyone with training experience and passion could participate. Dong-gyu was hesitant at first, thinking he was still losing weight and not ready to compete against athletes who had been training for longer. However, the director encouraged him, saying he would help him become a champion. Dong-gyu remembered the director's promise when they first met that he would become the strongest. The director also mentioned there was a cash prize, which could help Dong-gyu gain fame and recognition in the future. Dong-gyu agreed to think about it. After Dong-gyu left the gym and was on his way home, he thought he hadn't been able to talk to his sister Donghua properly for a month. He wondered if she could recognize him since he had lost weight. When he got home, she would already be fast asleep after making dinner for him. One day, he spotted her on the street and tried to get her attention. He saw her holding their father's picture and talking to it about Dong-gyu having something he wanted to achieve. She was also glad that he had woken up from the hospital, which she feared might not happen. She said she wanted to work hard for him and that the owner of her part-time job was kind to her. Dong-gyu was surprised to learn that she was working as a part-timer, even though they had the support of their father's life insurance money. He realized he hadn't realized how much Donghua was handling when he was doing whatever he wanted and buying what he needed. Sitting down on the street, he realized he was a terrible brother compared to the past or present Dong-gyu. The following day, he calls her out to a cafe right after her school. She complains that she was supposed to be with her friends. Dong-gyu gets right to the point and asks whether she is working as a part-timer. When she denies working at a part-time job, he confronts that she was coming home after 10 o'clock every day and smelling of barbecue and questions if that is due to her eating with her friends. She quickly says that she reaches home after changing clothes and wonders if she smells of barbecue even after changing. She realizes and tells him the truth of her working as a part-timer since she wanted to buy something. Dong-gyu gives his mobile phone to her to look at something. She looks at his phone, which has his bank account details and his balance, which is quite high. She gets shocked after seeing his balance and asks him about the money. When he replies that he has earned it, she questions if he stole it, only to realize it is not possible because of his timid nature and doesn't know what to say. Dong-gyu told his sister, Donghua, that he broadcasts his daily workouts in her room and people donate money to watch him. Donghua was confused why anyone would pay to watch someone exercise, but Dong-gyu compared it to people watching mukbang videos where they watch others eat. Donghua wanted to know how many viewers he had to earn that much money, and he replied that he has 700,000 subscribers and a few generous donors. Dong-gyu told her not to overwork herself with a part-time job and to let him know if she needed anything. Donghua insisted that he shouldn't worry about her and to do what he wanted. Dong-gyu encouraged her to enjoy herself and not act like an adult, leaving the responsibilities to him. Donghua became emotional and questioned how he could tell a student to have fun. She ignored his response and pointed out his old man talk, confirming his age. Dong-gyu teased her to have fun since she wouldn't study anyway, but Donghua argued that she had good grades, implying that she was studying well. Dong-gyu challenged her to join him for physical fitness, as she lacked it. Meanwhile, Yoon-suk reflected on not having anyone to care for him in the past and decided to cherish his current everyday life, choosing not to dwell on things for too long. Later that night, Dong-gyu went live and expressed his embarrassment for greeting his viewers from his desk instead of his usual workout mat. He announced that he had something to share and proceeded to thank everyone for their support and donations. Dong-gyu expressed his gratitude and shared his plan of creating more content in the future, which calmed everyone down. He surprised his audience by announcing his participation in an amateur martial arts competition. The chat exploded with comments about him. The next day, his instructor challenged him with a series of punches, emphasizing the importance of avoiding getting hit. Despite his admiration for Dong-gyu's bravery, Yoon-suk wondered how he even managed to complete his military service. Yoon-suk recalled his own early discharge due to disqualification. Dong-gyu, who had joined the military with the hope of transforming himself, had a different experience than he expected. He was constantly bullied and harassed by his seniors because of his weight. He endured the abuse, but even when he became a senior himself, the harassment continued. As a result, he decided to leave the military. During a training session, the instructor saw an opening and threw a punch at Dong-gyu, who blocked it. The instructor tried to land another punch, but Dong-gyu dodged it and quickly positioned himself to counterattack. However, just when the instructor thought he had Dong-gyu cornered, Dong-gyu ran away from the fight. The instructor yelled at him for running away, as it was an opportunity for him to attack. However, Dong-gyu and Yoon-suk had never lived lives that involved fighting, which is why Dong-gyu did not think of attacking the instructor. The instructor thought it was the best time to attack Dong-gyu. The instructor Hyun had asked him to spar with Dong-gyu without warming up, even though they were short on time to prepare for the match. The instructor knew that Dong-gyu didn't have much experience punching real people, but he had a lot of experience punching the sandbag. The instructor told Dong-gyu to attack him aggressively during sparring because it's not easy getting used to punching people. Dong-gyu set his mind to attack since he had to sharpen his skills. Coach Dong-hyun and Park Jae-min came to watch Dong-gyu spar. Jae-min said he wanted to see his friend who was preparing for a match. Coach Dong-hyun said it would be good if they helped Dong-gyu with sparring. Jae-min said they could take turns sparring with Dong-gyu because they were experts in different fields. When the director was asked why he changed his mind about participating, he said he wanted to be someone his sister could look up to. The instructor suddenly started punching Dong-gyu swiftly. Dong-gyu waited for an opening. He saw one and tried to land a perfect punch, but the instructor blocked it. The instructor said Dong-gyu had good timing, but his movement got big when he wanted to finish it quickly. The instructor complimented Dong-gyu for understanding his instructions and applying them quickly. Coach Dong-hyun was impressed with Dong-gyu's ability to avoid attacks from instructor Hyun-chul, a former boxing semi-finalist. He was surprised by Dong-gyu's speed and stamina, especially considering that he had only been working out for 3 months. Coach Dong-hyun believed Dong-gyu would become even more remarkable if he joined their team. Meanwhile, instructor Hyun-chul suggested that Dong-gyu take a break as he had been hit with many punches. However, Dong-gyu insisted that he was fine and didn't mind the punches since he had experienced bullying in school. The director then asked instructor Hyun-chul to give Dong-gyu a real match experience. Coach Dong-hyun tried to stop the match, but the director explained that it was not easy to back out once a match had started. The director recognized Dong-gyu's natural athleticism and saw that he had no weaknesses in strength, speed, stamina, or judgment. Coach Dong-hyun disagreed, saying the director was overestimating Dong-gyu. The director defended his assessment, pointing out that Dong-gyu memorized techniques through his body rather than his brain, and that he was able to avoid Hyun-chul's punches with ease, unlike when he first started training. The director believed that Dong-gyu had the potential to improve rapidly and that he was right to skip some training steps and spar with Hyun-chul directly. Hyun-chul then punched Dong-gyu in the face, knocking him to the ground. Dong-gyu eventually woke up, and the director realized that he was truly a remarkable individual. Yoon-suk, who now identifies as Kim Dong-gyu, reflects on his past life. He remembers studying hard, often getting nosebleeds, to enter the SH firm. While he achieved good high school scores and received his certificate a long time ago, his experiences at the firm taught him that things may not always turn out as expected. Dong-gyu's sister, Dong-hwa, entered his room unexpectedly and asked what he was up to. She was surprised when he replied that he was studying. She couldn't believe he was studying while also working out in his room. Dong-gyu explained that he couldn't just work out all day. Dong-hwa thought it must be difficult for him to prepare for the competition while also studying. She told him not to overwork himself, and he agreed, thinking that he should have worked out every morning instead of feeling fatigued. Dong-hwa looked at the books Dong-gyu was studying and wondered if anyone could understand them. Dong-gyu said that everyone has their own way of studying and that it wasn't a big deal. Dong-hwa disagreed, saying that it was nonsense for someone who didn't study like her. Dong-gyu offered to go to the gym with her if she was worried about failing. When he stood up to take a break, Dong-hwa accused him of running away from his studies. He denied the allegation, and she threw trash at him, telling him to take it out. As Dong-gyu was taking a stroll, he threw away some trash and realized that his leg was not as strong as he thought. When he was considering doing some exercise, 2 people, Song Dae-young and Park Cheon-suk, recognized him from a distance and called out to him. Dae-young made a comment about Dong-gyu's transformation from a pig to a human, and they argued about recognizing him from afar. Dong-gyu compared the situation to dealing with rude customers, as he often gets cursed at whenever he leaves his house. Cheon-suk asked why Dong-gyu didn't greet them, to which he replied that he didn't have a good relationship with them. They were skeptical of his response, wondering if he was still the same pig as before. Cheon-suk mentioned that they had a good relationship in the past, especially after an issue involving his father and Dong-gyu. However, when Dong-gyu claimed to have resolved the issue by taking money, they tried to retaliate for his disrespectful responses. Cheon-suk grabbed Dong-gyu's shoulder, infuriating him. Dong-gyu considered hitting him but held back, remembering a lesson he learned from sparring about waiting for the right moment and aiming for the gap. Suddenly, a car pulled up beside them. They recognized it as their director's car, and Dong-gyu recalled the director's name, John Yong-won. A person was furious that Cheon-suk and Dae-young didn't answer his calls. The person was actually Jo Gyuyuk, the chairman's cousin. Cheon-suk and Dae-young apologized for missing his calls, explaining that they were busy with work. Jo Gyuyuk brushed it off, saying he was in a good mood. He then told them to quickly go to a location in Incheon which he would send them by text. When they questioned the location, he revealed that the hacker had found a person named Gray. Dong-gyu vaguely remembered hearing that name before. After they left, Cheon-suk warned Dong-gyu to greet him properly next time. When Dong-gyu arrived home, his sister, Dong-hwa, complained that he didn't look sweaty and accused him of taking a walk to avoid studying. He dismissed her claims and said he was there to get an extra layer of clothing because it was cold. Dong-gyu went to his room and called someone named Choi Ji-dong. Choi Ji-dong was shocked that Dong-gyu knew his name. Dong-gyu asked him to meet, saying that he would introduce himself then. He also told Choi Ji-dong that Jo Gyuyuk had discovered his location in Ikkeon and urged him to run away if he wanted to live. When Choi Ji-dong doubted him, Dong-gyu told him to go to the lighthouse. Before Choi Ji-dong could ask more, Dong-gyu ended the call and prepared to meet him, donning a hoodie and cap. A mysterious person dressed in a hooded outfit and carrying a backpack ran into an alley and hid behind a wall. The people chasing him ran past him, shouting that they would be punished if they didn't catch him. The person wondered how they could follow him so quickly and thought about the phone call that had been used as bait to lure him to the lighthouse. He was curious about how they knew about the lighthouse and why they were so desperate to catch him. In an attempt to evade his pursuers, he ran towards the main road, hoping to shake them off from acting freely in the crowded area. Cheon-suk, who was relentlessly chasing him, landed a flying kick from behind, knocking him to the ground. The man was labeled a nuisance and referred to as a rat. As he lay on the ground, he denied any knowledge while crawling away from them. Cheon-suk removed his hood, expressing disbelief at his failure to catch someone as noticeable as the man. Dae-young, recognizing the complications they would have to face if the man continued his actions, urged him to make him submit and be dragged back properly. When the man continued to question them, Dae-young reacted by slapping him and demanding his silence since he cannot do anything now that he was caught by them. Bystanders witnessed the beating and considered alerting the authorities. However, Cheon-suk threatened to visit their homes and demand money if they reported the incident. They pinned Gray down on the ground, and Cheon-suk, holding a knife, declared that no one would come to Gray's aid. Cheon-suk warned Gray not to move, as he was about to cut his Achilles tendon. However, before Cheon-suk could act, a hooded figure, who was actually Dong-gyu in disguise, appeared and kicked Cheon-suk in the face, sending him flying. The onlookers wondered who had come to help Gray. Cheon-suk got up and insisted on handling Dong-gyu himself since he had attacked him from behind. Dong-gyu realized he needed to improve his accuracy and strength, as his initial hit had not been effective enough to keep him down for a while. Cheon-suk charged at him, swinging his fist, but Dong-gyu skillfully evaded and delivered a left cut to Cheon-suk's ribs. Seeing an opening, Dong-gyu punched Cheon-suk in the face, knocking him out. Then, he quickly took out two more of Cheon-suk's friends with a single strike. The remaining two juniors decided to flee along with Gray as they cannot handle him. As one of them approached Gray, Gray kicked him in the groin and continued to hit him after he fell on the ground in pain. Dong-gyu then swiftly punched the other person in the face, breaking his teeth and knocking him down with a single blow. Dong-gyu sees the police at the end of the street and calls Gray to go to the lighthouse because the police have arrived. After some time, they both sit inside a container with light in it. Gray asks Dong-gyu how he knows about this place. When Dong-gyu tells him the name of the place, Gray asks again. Dong-gyu reveals that he still carries a photo of Hatsune Miku in his wallet and also tried to get a tattoo of her but failed, which now looks like a pickled bone. He quickly stands up and says only one person in the world knows about this place, and that person is director Yoon-suk, who is now dead. When Gray questions his identity, Dong-gyu takes off his cap and poses like Yoon-suk, claiming to have come back to life, and greets him. Kim Dong-gyu informed Gray that he was director Yoon. Gray was surprised and sarcastically remarked that he was living as Stephen Jobs under the alias of Gray. Yoon Suk questioned Gray's disbelief, prompting Gray to explain that he needed to provide more convincing evidence. Yoon Suk then shared his dream of marrying a woman who resembled Hatsune Miku, which left Gray flustered. Gray asked how he knew about this dream, revealing that he had previously shared it when he was Yoon Suk. He was left shocked and questioned if the director had shared all his information with him. Yoon Suk mentioned a young boy who, 7 years ago, hacked into his computer and stole important land information to share with the chairman. He spent a lot of time and money trying to catch and educate the boy, which cost him around 100 million won. This was where they initially met and later became their regular meeting place for business dealings. The boy, sweating heavily, attempted to escape but stumbled over Dong-Yu's legs and fell. Dong-Yu apprehended him and remarked that he hadn't changed much in terms of his tendency to run away, trip over things, or say foolish things. Dong-Yu claimed he knew the boy's real name, his secrets, and their initial encounter. He even offered to provide detailed information about their shared experiences if the boy still doubted him. Ji-dong thought about how someone who had passed away could come back. He started crying because he had finally escaped from Jo Kyu-hyuk, only to be caught by a mad shaman. Dong-Yu threw him onto the sofa and told him it was hard to believe that he knew and remembered all that information, even his remark on the director, calling him a blabbermouth. Dong-Yu asked him to think of him as a spare card left by Yoon Suk and to help him like he did back when Yoon Suk was alive. When Ji-dong asked why he should help him, Dong-Yu explained that he was the only one who could defeat Jo Kyu-hyuk. Dong-Yu questioned Ji-dong about how Jo Kyu-hyuk even knew to look for him. Ji-dong hesitated at first, but then he told Dong-Yu that he was caught while trying to hack into Jo Kyu-hyuk's computer because he didn't understand anything about the case involving director Yoon Suk, leading to his death. Dong-Yu explained his actions to Yoon Suk, stating that he did everything for Yoon Suk. Yoon Suk's positive response made Dong-Yu think that Yoon Suk only valued him as a business partner, rather than a true friend. When Dong-Yu complimented him, Ji-dong became enraged, claiming that director Yoon was a cold person who would never say such things. Dong-Yu hit Ji-dong on the forehead and demanded him to be quiet. He then asked Ji-dong if he had kept safe all the things that had been entrusted to him. Ji-dong, confused, asked what he was referring to. After a brief silence, Dong-Yu accused Ji-dong of pretending to be ignorant despite knowing everything. Ji-dong began to hesitate and sweat profusely. Dong-Yu sharply instructed him to come clean. Ji-dong slowly confessed that he had squandered the assets left with him, including stocks he was supposed to manage after director Yoon's passing. Ji-dong admitted to selling the stocks and reinvesting them elsewhere. Dong-Yu was puzzled and his mind went blank by the thought of someone selling a gold mine that could generate money just by holding it. He wondered why he had to deal with the director's stocks. He tried to stay calm and asked how much of it was left. Ji-dong attempted to escape again, but he tripped on Dong-Yu's legs and fell. Dong-Yu, furious, threatened to break Ji-dong's leg if it wasn't already broken and proceeded to give him a hard time. The next day, Dong-Yu was at the gym, sparring with coach Dong-hyun. He dodged a punch from the coach and stepped back to counterattack. The coach caught up to him and delivered a series of punches, which Dong-Yu skillfully blocked. While sparring, Dong-Yu reflected on how he had entrusted stock management to Choi Ji-dong, wondering why such a timid individual who only spoke up behind the screen would suddenly decide to reinvest. The gym director called out to Dong-Yu, asking if he was paying attention, as he seemed distracted during the sparring session. Dong-Yu was pinned down by coach Dong-hyun at the moment. Kim Dong-hwa is at the same gym where Dong-Yu is training. She replies she is only at the gym to increase her stamina, when her brother Dong-Yu questions if the director made the same promise, which is to make her stronger. Giving a sarcastic side eye, she asks the director if he can make her the strongest. The director responded quickly, giving her an approving thumbs up and assuring her that she could become the strongest too. Dong-Yu, however, believed that the director was a scammer. The director left to get the registration form because she had not filled it out. Dong-Yu mentioned that the director says the same thing to everyone and advised her not to take it too seriously. He warned her not to overwork herself and to perform tasks moderately to avoid injury. She reminded him that the gym's director called her the future strongest girl. Dong-Yu agreed and confirmed that she has sudden potential, as she tends to avoid challenging tasks and prefers to relax on the bed. She swiftly delivered a strong punch to his waist, demonstrating her prowess, and questioned if he felt great about himself after the workout and warned him not to underestimate her. Her punch felt like being hit by a car. After exiting the ring, she expressed her gratitude to Dong-gyu for paying the fee, as he was the one who recommended her to the gym. The coach helped Dong-gyu, who was on the ground, and remarked that siblings were similar everywhere. Dong-gyu, intrigued, and inquired if Coach Dong-hyun had any siblings. The coach denied it, but mentioned that Hyun-chul had a sister. He recalled a time when Dong-hyun commented on their identical appearance and how he almost got himself killed because of it. Impressed by her punch, he expressed interest in recruiting Dong-hwa, since she showed potential. Meanwhile, the gym director summoned Dong-gyu to his office. Concerned, Dong-gyu wondered if something had happened and began discussing his sparring session with Dong-hyun. Director Park went deeper, asking if anything had been on Dong-gyu's mind lately and urging him not to keep things bottled up. Dong-gyu quickly suspected that the director had learned about his fight with Cheon-suk and Dae-young. However, he dismissed the thought, believing it was just a test since the director couldn't have known the details of the fight. Dong-gyu decided to act like a rebellious teenager and claimed he had recently been in a fight. Initially, they were able to communicate effectively, but the situation quickly escalated, and Dong-gyu felt a chill down his spine. Director Park explained that this was a sixth sense, similar to how mice can sense an impending tsunami. He explained that Dong-gyu's natural response was to feel threatened and pointed out that his senses were quite sensitive. Director Park advised him not to dwell on the past, as it would prevent him from progressing if he stayed angry at those who had bullied him when he was overweight. Dong-gyu assumed Director Park was referring to Yoon-suk's life and calmed down, as he didn't believe the director would have known about his past, despite his apparent sensitivity. Director Park reminded him to focus on the upcoming match, which was a month away, and asked him to fill out a form for his sister. While Dong-gyu initially perceived Director Park as an arrogant old man, he realized that there was more to him than met the eye. After Dong-gyu left the room, Coach Dong-hyun approached him and asked if he was busy with his match preparation. Dong-gyu confirmed that he was. The coach then confronted him about neglecting his broadcast for too long and warned him about the potential loss of subscribers. Dong-gyu was surprised and asked how the coach knew about his channel. The coach revealed that he was a fan of Dukbae TV and had been eagerly waiting for new content. The coach explained that Dukbae and his followers had been complaining about the short broadcasts recently and encouraged everyone to watch them together. The coach had become curious and decided to watch the broadcast himself. He quickly realized that D-Day is none other than Dong-gyu himself. Dong-gyu felt that wearing a mask was not enough, but it was not the reason he wore it. The coach offered to help Dong-gyu by appearing in his broadcast to make it more interesting since his subscribers were eager for content. The coach clarified that he would be a guest star and would teach simple self-defense techniques. When Dong-gyu agreed, the coach asked him to set a date so he could ask the gym director to lend them the gym for a day. When asked about payment, the coach gave him a thumbs up, indicating that he shouldn't disappoint his subscribers. Dong-gyu felt a little sad because he couldn't broadcast his training to his subscribers, but he was grateful that the coach asked him to do it first. That day, Dong-gyu finished his broadcast as usual and was a bit disappointed because his live chat was quiet. However, the announcement of a guest star made it more lively, and there were fewer complaints about the shortened live broadcast period. At that moment, Dong-gyu got a text from Gi Dong saying that he had completed the task assigned to him. Dong-gyu assumed that Gi Dong had arrived safely at the hideout. Days ago, at the lighthouse, Dong-gyu had provided Gi Dong with a slip of paper containing an address. He had explained that it was a secret location prepared when he was known as Yoon-suk. Dong-gyu asked Gi Dong to hide there for the time being. He further revealed that this hideout would serve as the starting point for their plan to overthrow the president. Upon hearing this, Gi Dong trembled with fear and asked Dong-gyu to repeat what he had just said. When Dong-gyu repeated his plan, Gi Dong questioned why he was being included and urged him to carry out the plan alone. Dong-gyu clarified that he only needed Gi Dong's assistance in dealing with Jo Kyu-hyuk, which would make the president feel uneasy. Once this was accomplished, Gi Dong would be free to leave the plan. After Gi Dong listened to Dong-gyu's words, he asked him about the plan. Dong-gyu explained that he intended to remove his stones one by one, to put pressure on Jo Kyu-hyuk, the last one being his tail. He planned to start with Dae-young and Cheon-suk. If they could defeat the amphibian Jeon Yong-won, they would have an easier time dealing with the president. Dong-yu told him that he would provide more details when they reached the designated spot. Gi-dong thought his life was full of difficulties and that he was doomed. Dong-yu then requested a favor from him to find someone who could help him pay off his debt. Gi-dong promised to complete the task. In the boxing gym, Director Park gathered all the boxing gloves into a large pile. He watched as Coach Dong-hyun gave tips about finger placement to Dong-yu. Suddenly, Instructor Hyun-suk whispered into the director's ear that he had agreed to allow a broadcast in the gym. The director jumped away in fear and asked why Hyun-suk had to whisper instead of speaking normally. Hyun-suk explained that he took precautions to prevent his voice from being picked up by the live broadcast. When the director inquired why he had allowed the broadcast, Hyun-suk replied that it would help promote the gym. The coach argued that it was too early for publicity since the match was still a long way off. However, the director insisted that there was no harm in letting people know about the gym. The coach countered that the broadcast wouldn't have a significant promotional impact. The director then revealed that a popular neo-tuber with 1 million subscribers was a fan of Dong-yu. The coach was astonished and learned that the neo-tuber would even turn off their live broadcast to watch Dong-yu when he went live. When the coach asked if the neo-tuber was a woman, the director clarified that it was not. Dong-yu and Coach Dong-hyun collaborated to host a live broadcast. They shared self-defense tips with their audience. Coach Dong-hyun showcased his expertise in jiu-jitsu, particularly chokeholds and arm bars. Dong-yu commended the coach's natural broadcasting skills and the camerawoman, Dong-hwa, for her excellent camera work. The audience in the chat praised the broadcast's camera work. Coach Dong-hyun then announced a surprise from D-Day. Dong-yu stepped forward and revealed that the match date had been set for the 21st of that month at Seizen World Gymnasium in Incheon. When viewers requested him to broadcast his match, he explained that it wasn't feasible due to issues with obtaining consent from others. A man known as the Great Disaster accused D-Day for lying about the competition solely to gain attention. This sparked a heated debate in the chat, with both positive and negative comments clashing against each other. Realizing that he was being judged by many, Dong-yu announced a bet. He challenged anyone to bring evidence that he would visit a place other than the Park Hoon Gym. Those who provided solid proof would receive all the profits from his previous broadcasts. When the coach attempted to intervene, Dong-yu dismissed him and addressed the live stream, asserting that those who disliked him could remain hidden behind their monitors. The coach advised Dong-yu to put this matter aside and concentrate on the technique they were discussing. He reassured the audience that he would explain it again while demonstrating how it was done. Dong-yu chose to disregard the chatter and hoped that the naysayers wouldn't return. As Dong-yu sat in the car, he marveled at the peaceful and focused atmosphere he was in, studying a book alongside his instructor, Hyun Cheol. Hyun Cheol, however, couldn't stop talking about the rules for the upcoming match as they drove to the gymnasium where the preliminary matches were to take place. Upon reaching the venue, they settled in the waiting hall, but Hyun Cheol continued to drone on about the various prohibitions Dong-yu had to follow during the matches. Dong-yu, still immersed in his book, remained unfazed and responded lightly. Hyun Cheol swiftly snatched the book from him, demanding his full attention. Dong-yu, noticing Hyun Cheol's nervousness, inquired if he was anxious. When Hyun Cheol returned the question to Dong-yu, he calmly replied that he wasn't, thanks to the teachings of his masters. Hyun Cheol asserted that no one could enter a competition without feeling some nerves. Dong-yu humbly acknowledged that they were not as skilled as Hyun Cheol. Hyun Cheol then directed Dong-yu's attention to the match lineup. His first opponent was athlete Yang Hyun-soo, a well-known boxing athlete from Anyang. While Hyun Cheol recognized that Dong-yu was starting with a formidable opponent, he was relieved that he would not face Choi Yun-ho or Park Mun-soo, the previous season's winners. Hyun Cheol showed Dong-yu videos of his past matches, emphasizing the importance of studying their sparring techniques. He cautioned Dong-yu to be wary of his opponent's potential use of kickboxing, a style Dong-yu was unfamiliar with. The match officials approached the waiting area and invited Kim Dong-yu to get ready for his match. Seeing Dong-yu, Hyun Cheol expressed his nervousness and wished him luck. Dong-yu assured his instructor not to worry and promised to return soon. In the ring, Dong-gyu faced his opponent, and the referee instructed them to get ready. After explaining some rules of the match, the referee signaled the start of the match. Dong-gyu is in front of his opponent, Yang Hyun-soo, in the arena of the amateur martial arts competition. His opponent confirms if he is D-Day or not and tries to punch Dong-gyu, which he evades easily. Hyun-soo claims he guessed his identity right away after seeing the picture on the match list and continued to punch Dong-gyu while he blocked it with his hands. While exchanging fists, Dong-gyu questions if he is the person under the name Great Disaster. He denies it and says Dong-gyu doesn't realize there are many people who want to beat you. Continuing their exchange of fists, Yang Hyun-soo says not to show off just because he started working out just for a couple of months. Dong-gyu catches his fist and says that it's wrong to lower the value of their effort by calling it just. The feeling Dong-gyu felt when his breathing was high still remains vividly, the anger and regret. Dong-gyu thinks he has provided him with an opening for his low kick on his own and gave a swift elbow cut on his face when he was about to kick him, making all the crowd cheer upon him after knocking him down. The referee starts the countdown and announces the winner of the round, Kim Dong-gyu. Dong-gyu thinks that he'll be stronger so that no one can kill him anymore. The coach reveals to the director and the other person that Dong-gyu knocked his opponent down with one shot and won his first match. The director claims that it is possible if it is Dong-gyu. The other person says to the coach that he was the one who spars with him every day and he must know that in a general competition with high-ranking athletes, it is a big possibility for them to win even if it is an amateur range. The coach tells him he will understand if he goes to see his next match. When the director tells him to drop him off at his home, he says it would be more comfortable for him because they're the same age. When Dong-gyu is about to leave the gym, the senior offers him a ride home, while the coach and the director are fooling around without cleaning. After reaching the destination, Dong-gyu offers his thanks to him. This act makes Yoon-suk inside Dong-gyu feel the youngest of them, since he never had anyone to give him a ride since his elementary school. He congratulates again on his K.O and tells him to keep it up until the finals. When he responds, he says not to take any pressure and to do it comfortably. Dong-gyu claims there is nothing wrong in trying it and sounds interesting too. He asks Dong-gyu if he is planning to do a face reveal to his subscribers. He questions if there are many people who are coming to see his face. He partially denies it and says that they can deal with it and not to worry about it. The reason he asked is because he thought it'd be comfortable to reveal his face, which actually bothers Dong-gyu. While leaving, he says not to do a face reveal if it bothers him. Walking towards his apartment, he thinks about the fact that he cannot hide forever, and the usual mask doesn't provide him a lot of security since Dong-hyun and Yang Hyun-soo recognized him right away. He decides to reveal his face when the competition ends since he cannot have people in the gym keep his identity a secret for a longer time. His sister addresses him as older brother, which creeps him out and says to her that it feels cringe when she calls him. When she reacts saying that it's his cute little sister who is calling him, he acts softly and with sparkling eyes he says sorry to her and acts much more cringier, which makes her react in a wild way and laughs at his gross expression. He asks if she ate dinner, to which she replies that she will be eating with her friend. When she asks about the competition's result, he asks her if there are any good restaurants around the venue since he has to go 3 or more times to eat. Listening to that, she jumps with happiness. In those 2 weeks, he studied for the upcoming real estate agent license exam and won 2 matches with 2 K.Os. After that, he has won the 8 rounds in the quarterfinals, which makes him to advance to the semifinals. The coach asked him if he could win all the matches with a knockout. Dong-gyu replied that he would try to do it because instructor Dong-hyun told him to win with all knockouts. The coach left the room and said he would be in the car and told him to come out when he finished his preparation. A person approached Dong-gyu, shook his hand, and said he had a great time watching all of his matches and praised him. Dong-gyu thanked him and asked who he was. The person replied that he was Go Sung-ju, one of the participants. Sung-ju mentioned that they were not matched for the next round and said they might meet as opponents in the finals. He claims he has seen the way Dong-gyu carefully examines his opponents to finish them in one shot when he sees an opening. When Dong-gyu thinks if Sung-ju is a fan of him, he continues to offer his thanks for displaying such incredible matches. Their conversation is interrupted by a hysterical laugh from a person. He asks Sung-ju the reason for his flattering words towards Dong-gyu. Dong-gyu confirms with Sung-ju if he knew this person, which he denies. The person says Sung-ju might be praising Dong-gyu just to make him hit less. When Dong-gyu tries to clarify, he points out at Sung-ju and says that he has heard about Sung-ju being a human sandbag at the gym, and questions his reason to enter the competition is he doesn't want to get hit. Dong-gyu says he has gone too far with his words and claims the competition is to help them learn the skills. The person laughs and says he has been trying to learn the skills for 10 long years. Dong-gyu thinks there is no person who can match him in terms of tenacity. The person claims that Sung-ju only knows how to get hit and be on the back of people, and questions how he did get to the semifinals. Dong-gyu gets back at him saying that he has come all the way to trash talk about him, and it seems his speciality is running mouth. Dong-gyu calls him a mouth fighter. When he tries to scream at him, Dong-gyu says dogs bark louder when they are scared. The person tries to get back at him. Dong-gyu makes him even more angry to the point that he starts to swing his arm towards Dong-gyu. Right at the moment, one of the officials stops him from causing any trouble. The official addresses the person as Park Mun-soo and tells him to get ready for his match, and clarifies that any fist fights between contestants will result in disqualification. Mun-soo exits the room, cursing both Sung-ju and Dong-gyu. Sung-ju thanks Dong-gyu for taking his side and tells him the reason he didn't speak against his words is because what Mun-soo said wasn't particularly wrong. Dong-gyu tells him not to demean himself since he has done some great things that others cannot do. After their exchange, Dong-gyu walks to the car in the parking lot. Instructor Hyun Cheol questions his late arrival, to which Dong-gyu replies that he has met some other participants. While driving away, Hyun Cheol asks him how the other participants were. After Dong-gyu recalls his exchange, Hyun Cheol gets worked up due to the behavior of Park Mun-soo. Hyun Cheol asks Dong-gyu if he knew the gym he came from, to complain about his behavior and teach him a lesson. When Dong-gyu says they will meet him again, Hyun Cheol claims he will teach him a lesson. When Dong-gyu asks how he will do it, he replies that he will ask him for a spar and beat him. After a while, Hyun Cheol wakes up the sleeping Dong-gyu in the passenger seat. Dong-gyu looks outside the car to see his house and not the gym. When he questions Hyun, he says that his real estate exam is tomorrow and asks him to refrain from training. He hands Dong-gyu a box of glutinous rice cake and taffy. Dong-gyu asks when did he prepare something like this. Hyun Cheol says that the director and other instructors pooled their money to buy it, and everyone's been cheering for him. Hyun asks Dong-gyu to get off the car quickly as he has to go back to the gym. After getting down the car, he thinks the exercise that he has started to fight against John Yong-won has helped him save Choi Ji-dong, and most importantly, he has people that support him, and not unlike when he was Yoon-suk where everyone was trying to pull him down by any means possible. The reason for learning martial arts still remains the same, and the real estate agent exam that takes place tomorrow. The next morning, he walks out of his apartment to the exam venue and wonders why his sister Dong-hwa has slept on the sofa. He places her on his bed and writes a small note saying that he will be back. Meanwhile, at the amateur competition, Park Mun-soo is fishing against Sung-ju and is dominating the match. He asks Sung-ju to flatter him with the same words so that he can be gentle for the rest of the match. When Sung-ju disagrees, Mun-soo begins to act violently towards him. This shocks the entire audience. The director who is watching the match in the stadium thinks his brutality is too much and the referee didn't stop the match. He had plenty of time to do. The director thinks a participant with a wicked personality has made it into the finals. Dong-gyu was taking an exam. He looked at the question paper and thought it was too hard. He noticed that the other people taking the exam looked worried too. Dong-gyu started his exam and felt interested. He finished it earlier than he thought he would. He listened to other candidates talking about how they messed up the exam and were unsure of their answers. A person came around handing out the answer key. Dong-gyu thought that people who failed the test would probably go to their academy because the test was difficult. He thought this might be a good opportunity for the academy officials. Dong-gyu felt bad that someone's misfortune could be an opportunity for someone else, but was glad he didn't have to search for the answer key himself. Dong-gyu sat in a cafe and thought he should check his answers carefully. He knew he wouldn't fail the exam because he had Yoon-suk's memories. He decided to calculate how many points he would get and was surprised by the result. In the meantime, Dukbae went live and said hello to his followers. He told them that he had missed them and had come to see them for a short while. One of his followers asked if he had come live to talk to D-Day, which was Dong-gyu's stream. Dukbae said that he has good intuition. He claimed he couldn't stream because he was busy with his match. He added that he wanted to see D-Day working out not for his body but because he was determined. Duckbay said he felt satisfied watching him and almost felt like he could become a bodybuilder too. He scratched his head because he didn't have a ticket and wanted to see the match. Suddenly, a viewer asked him if he would come to watch the match if he had a ticket, to which Duckbay said yes. The viewer named Ikandi Dongung said he could get him a ticket and asked him to trust him. That person turned out to be Coach Dong Hyun, who was watching the stream and sending messages while cleaning the gym. Suddenly, the director hit him for not cleaning the ring. Coach Hyun explained that he was on a quick break and said he was encouraging some people who wanted to watch Dong Yu's match. The director wanted to know if it was possible to watch both matches at the same time. Coach Hyun told him that the semifinals and finals were on the same day, and only the players would be going. Coach Hyun was worried about Dong Yu's exam more than his match. The director was confident that Dong Yu would do well on his exam and told Hyun not to worry too much. Hyun thought that the director favored Dong Yu too much. The director hit him and said that Dong Yu was much cuter than Hyun, who was a troublemaker. He told Hyun to hurry up and clean the area. At home, Dong-hwa was watching her favorite show on TV and waiting for her brother, Dong Yu, to come back. She was excited to hear from him and was hoping that he would tell her how he did on his test that day. Suddenly, Dong Yu arrived home. Dong-hwa was surprised to see him late and asked him why he was so behind schedule. However, Dong Yu didn't say anything and simply walked into his room with a sad expression on his face. Dong-hwa became worried and thought that he might have failed his exam. She was concerned that he might go back to his old ways. Dong-hwa decided to do something to help her brother. As she was about to enter his room, Dong Yu opened the door and handed her his test paper. Dong-hwa took it and realized that he had not passed the test. Dong-hwa glanced at Dong Yu's question paper and wondered if the marks on it meant he had failed. She approached him and noticed his disheartened expression. She felt the need to cheer him up. She ran towards him, embraced him, and reassured him that failing the test was normal, even after a year of studying. She praised his hard work. Dong Yu pushed her away, asking her to stop pretending. He claimed he had only gotten 2 questions wrong and needed no comfort. Dong-hwa insisted he was lying. She showed him his paper, pointing out the questions he had marked incorrectly. She reminded him of how devastated he had looked when he came home. Dong Yu admitted he had mistakenly scored the B-type test as an A-type, leading to confusion while grading. When Dong-hwa asked if he had passed, he confirmed that he had. Dong-hwa jumped onto the sofa, relieved that Dong Yu had only gotten 2 questions wrong. Dong Yu boasted about being handsome, good at sports, and intelligent, so there was no need to worry about him. Dong-hwa agreed and prepared a box of chicken as a special treat for him that night. Dong Yu thanked her for the offer, but he asked her to wait until after his final match because he needed to watch his diet. Dong-hwa asked if he could make an exception for that day, but Dong Yu refused, saying he couldn't eat too much. He plans to eat plain chicken breast, which he said was tasty in its own way. With a sad look, he said he preferred salad to crispy chicken, ramen with spicy broth, or pizza with cheese. Dong-hwa decided not to argue with him and asked if he would announce that he passed the exam on his stream. Dong Yu said he would announce it once it was official. Dong-hwa wanted her to inform his gym buddies about it, so she could brag about her brother, to which Dong Yu agreed. She called the director and told him everything. Seeing her happy lifted his spirits. He looked at the picture of her with Dong Yu and wondered if Kim Dong Yu had felt the same. He hears her telling every specific detail of his mistake to the director. Dong Yu checked the answers on his computer and found that his hunch on the official answers were right and some were repeated. He read the gossip online because some of the questions they got wrong might be correct. Dong Yu was fighting in his semifinal match. He kept blocking his opponent's attacks. Dong Yu saw an opportunity, quickly dodged the attack, and kicked his opponent in the face, knocking him out. The audience cheered for another K.O win and Dong Yu advanced to the finals. Duckbay, who was in the audience, cheered for Dong Yu and was relieved to see D-Day's match in person. He was impressed by Dong Yu's winning streak, all ending in knockouts. Someone next to him mentioned that the finals were on the same day and Dong Yu was at a disadvantage because the other finalists had more time to rest before the match. The audience beside Duckbay discusses the event organizer. a prominent figure known for his interest in martial arts. They also mention the organizers' questionable tactics and the difficulty of obtaining tickets, even for amateur competitions. As Dong-gyu exits the ring, the crowd begins to cheer for him, using his streaming name, D-Day. Dong-gyu feels a mix of gratitude and embarrassment at the sight of such a large crowd. As he wonders how they learned about the matches, the director reveals that Dong-hyun had donated his ticket to the Dukbae guy. When Dong-gyu questioned his attendance, the director explained that the director normally comes on days like this. Meanwhile, at a corner, Coach Hyun Cheol and Dong-hyun stood with a banner proclaiming Kim Dong-gyu, the human weapon of Park Hoon's gym, was fighting. Beside them, his sister Dong-hwa held a smaller banner declaring him the best athlete nurtured by Park Hoon's gym. Dong-gyu wondered if such statements were appropriate for such an occasion. She ran towards him, exclaiming that he looked amazing. When he inquired about her peculiar banner, she responded that as a supportive sister, she had to come and cheer him on for his semi-final and final matches. She then introduced her friend Jae-hai to him. A beautiful woman approached Dong-gyu, gently stroking her hair as she greeted him. She mentioned that it had been a while since they last saw each other. Dong-gyu was curious if she knew the late Kim Dong-gyu and stared at her intently, making her feel slightly awkward. His sister, Dong-hwa, punched him and asked if he planned to keep staring at her and prompted him to greet their guest. Dong-gyu was surprised to learn that his sister had a friend. When Dong-hwa reacted, he commented that he thought she had no friends because she was always lazy at home. Jae-hai pointed out that Dong-hwa did have many friends. Dong-hwa acknowledged this, saying that Dong-gyu hadn't noticed because he wasn't paying attention to her in the past. As Dong-hwa continued to speak, Dong-gyu interrupted and told his sister's friend Jae-hai that she was her friend from middle school and had frequently visited their house, often saying hello. However, Dong-hwa's friend corrected him, saying that her greetings were one-sided and that Dong-gyu had always ignored her. Dong-hwa asked her brother, Dong-gyu, to pay attention to her since he was about to become famous. Dong-gyu tried to figure out what she was talking about, but Dong-hwa denied everything. Jae-hai said that Dong-gyu had changed a lot. Dong-gyu agreed, saying that change was inevitable. When Jae-hai was about to say something, Dong-hwa interrupted her and took her to buy some snacks. Director Park spoke to Dong-gyu, saying he should have said something about his dating status. Dong-gyu remembered that the chairman of SH Real Estate Company had also used children to bring down his opponents, so Dong-gyu decided not to focus on dating. Director Park, however, requested that Dong-gyu bring a woman with him on a show to attract more female fans, which would in turn increase the number of customers coming to the gym. The director warned Dong-gyu to be more cautious this time because his next opponent's gym was known for underhanded tactics. He emphasized the importance of staying focused and winning the match, as he was determined to do whatever it took to secure victory. Dong-gyu sensed that the director had placed a bet on him and inquired about their strategy for the upcoming game. In response, the director expressed uncertainty, but he was confident that Dong-gyu would ultimately win by knockout. Dong-gyu and his coach, Director Park, discussed the upcoming match. Director Park advised him not to be discouraged and to give it his all. The match began, and as Dong-gyu suspected, his opponent was Park Moon-soo. However, Park Moon-soo was not an easy opponent. He was quick and always on the offensive. Dong-gyu skillfully dodged his punches and kicks. Park Moon-soo wanted to break Dong-gyu's will during the match. He landed a punch on Park Moon-soo's left torso, which he couldn't block. Dong-gyu realized that his opponent didn't reach the finals by cheating. He also noticed that his opponent wasn't trying to block his punches and tried to move back quickly. Park Moon-soo then swung his arms towards Dong-gyu, causing him to fall to the ground. When Dong-gyu stood up, his opponent's fingers were near his eyes, attempting to poke him. Dong-gyu managed to evade this attack, but it caused a slight bleed. A drop of blood dripped from Dong-gyu's face near his eye and fell onto the floor. His opponent was determined to win at any cost, and it became evident when he almost poked Dong-gyu's eye. Dong-gyu was surprised that his opponent would resort to such unsportsmanlike behavior. When his opponent asked about the strength of his punch, Dong-gyu compared it to the sharpness of a nail. He glanced at the referee and suspected that he hadn't noticed the eye-poking attempt because he didn't stop the fight. The opponent warned Dong-gyu not to get distracted and charged at him. Dong-yu recognized it as a predictable move and planned to avoid it while preparing to counterattack. However, the blood in his eye hindered his ability to dodge, and he was unable to evade the attack. Moon-soo pinned Dong-yu to the ground and started punching him. He told Dong-yu to laugh at him like he did the last time. Dong-hwa couldn't bear to watch her brother getting hurt, so she turned away and told the director that she couldn't watch it. The director reminded her that Dong-yu was a tough opponent. Meanwhile, Dong-yu kicked Moon-soo on his rear side, causing him to lose his balance. Dong-yu then quickly grabbed Moon-soo and pinned him down, causing the referee to start counting. Just before the count of 1, Dong-yu released Moon-soo and stood up. Moon-soo got angry and threatened Dong-yu, saying that he would make him regret letting him go. Dong-yu answered that he was determined to win the match with a knockout since he had come so far. In the past, Director Park advised Dong-yu that he had the potential to become the strongest, but his tendency to get too excited during fights was a problem. Director Park explained that when someone gets too excited, their vision becomes unfocused, and they lose clarity. He advised Dong-yu to remain calm during fights and, if that was difficult, he should try to make his opponent lose their composure. Following this advice, Dong-yu quickly approached Moon-soo and knocked him out with a punch, winning the match. After some time, Bae started his stream outside the gym where Dong-yu trained. He was excited about working with Dong-yu, also known as D-Day. When he went inside the gym, he was greeted by the director, Park Hoon. Park Hoon invited him into the gym and gave him a tour. After a brief act of the director as a salesperson, he knocked on the door of the dressing room, which was a signal for Dong-yu to come out. Bae greeted him and began talking to him. He started the conversation by congratulating Dong-yu on completing his first amateur martial arts competition. When the chat reached the topic of his performance, Bae asked if he could share his thoughts with the audience. Dong-yu humbly responded that it would be an honor for Bae himself to announce the outcome of his match. Suddenly, a person in the chat commented that Dong-yu must have lost the match because he had a band-aid on his forehead. In a live broadcast, a chat participant named Gamekjang expressed pride in watching a baby pig work out. However, he comments that when the pig lost weight, it became arrogant. Dong-yu and his coach sat in the gym for the live broadcast after a competition. Gamekjang accused Dong-yu of creating dull content to attract viewers. Another individual joined the conversation, questioning why anyone would care if Dong-yu won the competition or not, given his hidden appearance. Expressed disappointment in the quality of Dong-yu's match, calling it a waste of time. Dong-yu took off his mask and announced that he had asked Bae to make the announcement, but he felt the need to do it himself. He greeted everyone live and introduced himself as D-Day. Everyone got excited when they saw his face, and some even said that he looked tired because of the scars. However, Gamekjang, a particular individual, was not amused by the face reveal. Dong-yu then revealed that he had both good and bad news. Gamekjang believed that Dong-yu couldn't have any good news. Surprisingly, Dong-yu announced that he had won the martial arts competition and ranked first, despite training for only 3 months. Bae, who was standing beside him, agreed and confirmed that he had witnessed the match himself. When Gamekjang called it nonsense, Bae urged everyone on the chat to check the internet for news about Dong-yu winning all his matches with knockout victories. Gamekjang was shocked when he saw the results of his internet search. He had achieved something he never thought possible. In the Steam chat, he claimed that Dong-yu had been training in secret for over 3 months and that this was all a setup. Dong-yu asked them if they remembered the bet he had announced earlier. Bae responded by reminding them of the bet. The bet was that if anyone could bring proof that Dong-yu was working in other gyms, they would get all the profits from his streams. But if no one could bring any proof within the stipulated time, there would no longer be any criticism of him. Dong-yu then challenged Gamekjang to a face-to-face talk and sparring match. He also named 3 other people who had been criticizing him and told them to come to Park Hoon's gym. Gamekjang and the other 2 people went to the gym. 3 men who came to have fun were defeated by Dong-yu in a fight. One of them, Gamekjang, was easily beaten and asked for a rematch because he was not focused the first time. He was upset about being defeated by someone who had only been training for 3 months. The other 2 men were also defeated, and Dong-yu made them hold up a sign apologizing to the live stream audience. Jang remembered his past when he tried to become a martial arts fighter but did not succeed and felt frustrated. Dong-yu realized that Gamek Jang's hate speech was due to him feeling insecure. Dong-yu decided to ignore him because he knew he couldn't change him even if he talked to him. The streamer Duckbei cheered for Dong-yu, but the audience was bored because the fight was over too quickly. When Dong-yu was talking to his audience, the director interrupted him and told him to greet a guest who had arrived for him. The director then went to check on Choi Min-suk, who was Gamek Jang. The guest gave Dong-yu a card and invited him to join his gym, where Dong-yu's last opponent Park Moon-soo had trained. Dong-yu refused the offer, saying that he didn't want to go to a place that lacked quality. The guest warned Dong-yu to watch his words if he wanted to stay in the martial arts industry. Dong-yu responded that he didn't plan to continue doing martial arts. The guest, who introduced himself as Park Ji-tae, told Dong-yu to contact him if he changed his mind. After Park Ji-tae left, Dong-yu received a call informing him that they had found the person they were looking for. At some location, a middle-aged man in rags was kidnapped. A middle-aged man was attempting to recall that he was trying to meet someone to borrow money for betting. Suddenly, he had a strange feeling that he couldn't move or see anything. In reality, his body was buried deep in the ground, leaving only his face exposed. His eyes and mouth were tied up, preventing him from speaking. When he tried to make a sound, the person beside him with a shovel alerted another person that he was awake. The man inside the ground desperately called for help, promising to repay his debt no matter the cost. Someone called Seo Young-doo's name and asked if he had lost all his money gambling. Another voice reminded him that he had a family and children. The middle-aged man regained consciousness and tried to call for help. The two voices discussed their plan to catch them and considered the amount of interest they should ask for before contacting them. The second voice mentioned that Seo Young-doo's daughter was only 20 years old and had been sent to live in Japan. Both the voices commented that gambling is a dangerous game, capable of causing a person to sell even their own family. They planned to leave the middle-aged man and go away, saying that wild animals would take care of him later. The middle-aged man started thinking about his wife and daughter and cried in pain, realizing that he could have paid off all his debts if he had stopped gambling earlier. He then realized that his family might have survived if he had never started gambling at all. Meanwhile, Dong-yu and Choi Ji-dong watched the buried man from a distance. Ji-dong thought about what it meant to teach him a lesson with his body. 2 hours before, Ji-dong talks to Dong-yu about identifying Seo Young-doo and about placing him back at a place. Dong-yu asks Ji-dong if he knew the similarity between a drug addict and a gambler. Ji-dong guesses that they use their money recklessly. Dong-yu denies it and clarifies that both of them can't see what's in front of them and are blinded by the desire to do whatever they want. When Ji-dong asks the way to get him to do what they want, Dong-yu says they cannot teach him a lesson with words but can teach one through his body. Ji-dong is devastated to listen to his plan and asks if that's the reason he asked for a van. Dong-yu wants the whole act to look realistic and make him trust them. He asks Ji-dong to get prepared for kidnapping since they are near to his location. Currently, from the shelter's glass window, Ji-dong keeps an eye on Seo Young-doo. He asks Dong-yu if it's okay to leave him in his current state. Dong-yu responds that words alone cannot rehabilitate drug addicts. He decides to leave Seo Young-doo in the same condition for 2 full days. When Ji-dong expresses concern that Seo Young-doo might die, Dong-yu reminds him not to feel sorry for gamblers as it's of no use. Dong-yu points out that Seo Young-doo has disregarded his family and gambled recklessly. He emphasizes that humans are stronger than they appear. He shares that when he was known as Yoon-suk, he managed to survive even when he was being strangled. Ji-dong was terrified after hearing about the treatment. Dong-yu told him to think of it as a favor for treating him if he felt sorry for Seo Young. He further explained that it could be seen as a therapy that helps traumatize people by sending their consciousness to their inner control, which could help them live a better life, especially for gambling addicts. Dong-yu asked Ji-dong to give Seo Young time to contact his inner consciousness so that he could change. When Ji-dong asked if the method was effective, Dong-yu replied that while the method was strict and harsh, he was not a doctor and could not guarantee its effectiveness. Dong-yu explained that when someone is close to death, they experience life in the most extraordinary way, and even if they get to live again, they will never forget that moment. Dong-yu requested the keys from Ji-dong as he needed to leave. He told him that he would return the following day to check on him. Dong-yu warned Gi-dong not to help or move him while he was away, or he would be the one buried. Gi-dong spoke his thoughts aloud, saying that Dong-yu was being harsh. Dong-yu asked him to check on Seo-young occasionally to see if she was alive. He mentioned that he had heard there would be light rain the next day due to the warming winter weather. Dong-yu expressed his hope that Seo-young would stay alive as his family was waiting for him. Gi-dong asked if Dong-yu had a driver's license, to which Dong-yu replied that he did not. At SH Real Estate Company, an elderly person calls Kyu-hyuk while reading the newspaper. He inquired if Kyu-hyuk would like an additional assistant to lighten his workload. Kyu-hyuk mentioned that their current team primarily consists of older individuals who tend to engage in lengthy conversations which disgusts him. He recalled a recent incident where CEO Park, a mixed martial arts enthusiast, discovered something exciting online that he was extremely proud of. CEO Park urged Kyu-hyuk to read an article in the newspaper featuring an individual who had set a new record in an amateur competition. The elderly gentleman recognized the individual as the same person who had risked his life to seek justice for his father. He suggested to Kyu-hyuk that they should recruit this individual and provide him with a new family to care for. The elderly gentleman advised Kyu-hyuk to reach out to the individual's remaining family members in case he was hesitant to join despite the offer of money. Dong-yu remembered that he had finished his safety training and academic tests in the morning, and it would not be long before he received his license. His functional training would begin the following day and would be completed in 2 weeks. Dong-yu felt that he would not be able to contact Choi Gi-dong whenever there was a problem. Once he had his license, he would be able to prevent Choi Gi-dong from making fun of him. He decided to go to the gym and warm up lightly, focusing on sparring instead of visiting Choi Gi-dong because he did not have enough time. When he entered the gym, he saw a group of people gathered in the center. When Coach Dong-hyun saw Dong-yu, he asked if the people were there for him. Dong-hyun nodded, confirming that they were. Dong-yu said he would handle them because they were fans who wanted to spar with him like the other 3 did previously. Coach Hyun explained that Dong-yu needed to spar with them because they were fans who admired him and came to the gym to be like him. However, Dong-yu did not seem to understand. Coach Hyun tried to make him understand by asking him to look at their body structures, which were similar to when he had joined the gym. Dong-hyun pointed out the director's happiness and mentioned that the increase in the gym's members was because of Dong-yu's face reveal. Dong-hyun asked if Dong-yu used no tube. Dong-yu joked that he would need to perform well if he did. When Dong-hyun's facial expression changed, Dong-yu clarified that he was joking and that he would contact Duk-bae, who knew more about no tube. Dong-hyun explained that he had business ethics and wanted to discuss it with Dong-yu first. Dong-yu thought that if Coach Hyun wanted to start a no-tube channel, he would naturally use workouts as the content. He wondered if Coach Hyun would teach jiu-jitsu, like he did when he was a guest on Dong-yu's stream. Dong-yu reassured Coach Hyun not to worry and that he would help promote his channel. When Coach Hyun became excited, Dong-yu told him not to worry about the content overlapping and encouraged him to give it a try. Dong-yu believed that Coach Hyun would create good content because he wasn't nervous in front of the camera and made jokes to lighten the mood. When Dong-hyun was discussing a treat with Dong-yu, the director called out to Dong-yu and introduced a group of people who came to meet him. Everyone turned around and was excited to see their favorite idol in person. The director quickly announced that those who signed up that day would get special lessons from Dong-yu himself. Dong-yu protested, saying he hadn't agreed to this, but everyone started shouting that they wanted to join the gym and take lessons from him. Dong-yu looked at the crowd, thinking they resembled hungry zombies. He lacked the director's courage to face the group with a smile. To avoid the situation, Dong-yu swiftly exited the gym. Noticing Dong-yu's absence, the director asked Dong-hyun about him, emphasizing the need to handle the crowd if Dong-yu left. In the evening, Dong-yu arrived at the hideout by taxi. He asked Gi-dong what he was doing in the dark. Gi-dong was trembling with fear and asked if Dong-yu had heard something wrong. Dong-yu noticed Gi-dong was holding an axe and asked if wild boars had appeared. He wanted to know if something was alive. Gi-dong asked if he could not tell by looking at him. Dong-yu explained that he was asking about Seo Young-do, not him. Gi-dong told him that Seo Young-do was not doing well. He was muttering the same thing like a person in a trance and showing signs of dehydration. Dong-yu was shocked and concerned about Seo Young-do's condition. While walking towards him, he asks Dong-gyu if it is enough. Dong-gyu says it is not for him to decide and the decision will be made by Seo-young himself. They decide to nail him down for sure. Seo-young keeps on asking to spare him and his family. Dong-gyu whispers to Ji-dong to get some water and steps on Seo-young. When he starts to plead for his life and his family, Dong-gyu says it's hard for him to spare him as long as he doesn't cooperate. Seo-young says he will fulfill any request of his and pleads for his forgiveness. Dong-gyu confirms if he can do anything he requests, which he agrees to. Dong-gyu thinks to get a better answer from him and questions about the whereabouts of his daughter. Seo-young-do was questioned by Dong-gyu about his daughter's whereabouts. Dong-gyu had searched everywhere for his daughter but couldn't find her. When the man said he didn't understand what Dong-gyu was talking about, Dong-gyu told him he knew the man had given half of his earnings to his daughter and that she must have a lot of money, as she could hide well. Dong-gyu asked the man not to be selfish and offered to pay off all of his debts and give him an extra 5,000 won if he revealed his daughter's location. Dong-gyu believed that if he did this, he would make a significant breakthrough. Seo-young-do needed to answer Dong-gyu honestly because he wanted to return to his normal life and be with his family. The man said that his daughter might not even recognize him as her father since they hadn't seen each other in a long time. Dong-gyu advised him to tell her the truth and not to think twice about it. Ji-dong thinks that Seo-young was torn between choosing his daughter or money for gambling, as he appeared to be hesitant to answer. Dong-gyu, on the other hand, thought that Seo-young had not changed and decided to leave, giving him until the next day to think about it carefully. Dong-gyu believed that having a near-death experience did not guarantee that Seo-young would change his ways, and he observed Ji-dong's disappointment, as he had grown up without parents. Seo-young orders them to shut their mouths and curses them. He asks them to kill him since he cannot give up his daughter to persons like them. Dong-gyu realizes that he has come to his senses and goes to him to make him more agitated. Seo-young tells him to just kill him. Dong-gyu punches him on his face, which surprises Ji-dong. Ji-dong claims Dong-gyu is being too harsh on him. Dong-gyu says that Seo-young knew how precious his family was and still didn't stop gambling. He orders Ji-dong to pull him out of the ground, unless he wants him to serve him all his life. Dong-gyu thinks his older version won't even believe that Seo-young is willing to protect his family, but he does know now how precious the presence of family is. Dong-gyu explained to Seo-young that he hit him to avenge his father and not to hold any grudges against him. He recalled the personality of Seo-young-do's father, who was fiery and aggressive. Dong-gyu was confident that his father would welcome him back and not hit him. At his father's house, the old man was seen drinking alcohol while watching television. He cursed the people who had promised to help him find his son after he offered them a piece of his land. He cursed Yoon-suk, who died after making the promise. The old man felt foolish for trusting them. Looking at a portrait of his wife, he asked her why she was smiling at such a situation when their only son's whereabouts were unknown for a long time. He claimed that his son would not have done such a thing if she were present with them. He cursed himself for losing his son, his land, and his entire life. Suddenly, a knock on the front door startled the old man. Frustrated by the late-night visit, he slowly walked to the door. He stepped outside and stumbled upon the body of his son, Seo-young, lying next to an envelope. Recognizing his son by his voice, the old man helped him sit up. Seo-young apologized for everything, and the old man apologized in return. The old man noticed the envelope and wondered if it was a threatening letter from the people he owed money to. He opened the letter, thinking he would have to sell all his belongings to pay off his debt. However, a line at the bottom of the letter caught his attention which said that he had kept his promise. The old man started laughing out loud, realizing that his son had kept his promise to him. Dong-gyu is eating his breakfast. His sister, who is sitting across from him, asks him if the meal tastes good. He says the taste is fine and her future husband will like it. She says what the old man is saying to the high school student. Dong-gyu says her way of speaking is similar to that of a middle-aged woman. She asked him about the reason for him being late and coming home at 3 in the morning, without even contacting her. When he questions her if she was waiting for him to come home, she cuts him off saying that she asked the questions first. Dong-gyu was actually buying a bowl of soup for Choi Ji-dong, and he cannot even deny it. He even ate 4 bowls. He increased her allowance to 20,000 won. She responds saying that she is not that cheap of a person. He increased it to 30,000 won. She replies that is a bit enough for her to fall for it. When he goes on to increase her allowance, she concludes that he doesn't want to talk about what he did yesterday and shows her fingers asking that much. He agrees to a 50,000 won allowance and reminds her the time is past 8 and it is late for her college. She screams that it is because of him that she overslept. She sprints in the house to get her belongings. While leaving, she congratulates him since today is the day that the results for the real estate agent exams. He thinks that she really cares without showing it since she remembered. He finishes his breakfast and quickly opens the website that is used to check the results. Ha gets nervous for no reason. He smiled when he saw his result. He let out a big sigh since he was worried that he might have misread the answers or misunderstood the types as he did during the mock exams. Deciding to share this news, he quickly turns on his broadcast and greets everyone who is online. He offers his thanks for all who came in early and says he wanted to share some good news through this broadcast. When they speculate about the news in his chat, he claims someone has asked him about the Project 333, whose nickname is Mountain Hiker. When the chat responds, he reveals that he had passed the real estate agent exam with just 3 months of study. While everyone was pouring their congratulatory messages in the chat, he said he had studied for the real estate agent exam while preparing for the martial arts competition. When someone comments on him being a human or not, he says he wanted to say something but didn't want to make much of an issue, and it would be embarrassing for him if he didn't pass. The chat claims he would have achieved the first position in the martial arts competition if he had failed. Dong-yu offers his thanks to everyone and bows. The chat gets emotional and almost everyone starts to tell their success stories after they have started to follow his streams. One speaks about his goal to become a chef and another person shares her own weight loss achievement in a month's time. Dong-yu didn't realize that people could change just by looking at him and feels so touched by their stories. He reveals that he has some additional news to share, but he is going to save that for the main broadcast today. He gets a phone call and takes a break from the streaming to attend it. At the college, Donghua is tired of waiting for his brother to call her and inform about the test results. Her friend advised her to check it herself if she knows his test number. She checks her phone and says that they haven't posted the list of passers. There were 2 perfect scores this time, and their comments were that it was a fake passing exam. When she wonders about this brother since he said that he got 2 of the questions wrong, her friend asks if she admires his brother. She quickly denies. After she reached her home, she was shocked to see her brother on TV. She asks if they counted 2 of those questions with duplicate answers. He reveals that 2 controversial questions were counted as right. When she asked about the reason for taking his interview, he said it was to calm the public's opinion about the controversial question. She thinks the world is unfair since her grades won't change like his. She questions why they chose him for the interview since there is another one with a perfect score as him. He began to explain the scene at the interview, when he was welcomed by reporter Park Jin-cheol. The reporter greeted him as he entered and said he never thought of him to be this tall figure. While shaking hands, he said he never thought of him being called by a reporter for an interview. The reporter offers him to be seated and have a drink till the other person arrives. Dong-yu orders iced Americano and looks around the cafe. The reporter claims he had taken interviews of so many people, but it is the first time for someone like him. Dong-yu thinks his eyes look curious. The reporter says he has to be proud of himself since no one can achieve what he has achieved. Dong-yu questions him about the type of person he met as a reporter, thinking some would act too excessive, some act shy to speak, and some pretend that it's not a big deal. During Dong-yu days, he's feeling nervous. The reporter days not to be nervous and just act natural like before. The reporter's eyes look fierce on observation. When he praises the good looks and his sight, the reporter praises his eyelashes and days they need to be in contact with each other. The waitress informs the reporter about the arrival of Choi Hank-young. He gets up to greet the other perfect scorer and says he was the one who contacted him, introducing himself as Park Jin-cheol and extends his hand for a handshake. He ignores his gesture and claims he has chosen a good place for an interview and sits by the table without permission. He orders an iced Americano and the waitress walks away without responding. Dong-yu thinks how he can live a life with that ignorant personality. When he asked why she didn't answer him, Dong-yu thinks that he showed a complete trash personality in just a minute of his appearance. Choi Hank-young comments he really doesn't think the exam is hard and questions about the nonsense comments which are coming out of the cowards who can never get a perfect score. Dong-gyu responds that he also likes meat and addresses him as a dog and calls himself a cow. When he didn't understand, he introduced himself as Dong-gyu. When Hank Young asks about his problem, he replies not to call him a jerk since he told him his name. He is confused by Dong-gyu's words. Dong-gyu clarifies that it's better to call him by his name rather than calling him using curse words. He questions his laugh and asks if he is mocking him and flaunts his status. The reporter intervenes and says that he knew about him quite well, that his father works in DK Real Estate Investment Company as a real estate agent. Dong-gyu recalls that DK Real Estate Company is a big company, the only firm which can go head-to-head with SH Real Estate Company. Hank Young quickly days he really does know him and questions about how he gathers all of this information. The reporter says his co-workers did some research on his behalf. Flattered by his response, he turns towards Dong-gyu and asks if he heard everything. Dong-gyu questions if he knew about his background. Hank Young responds saying why should he know about someone who only got a perfect score just by luck. Dong-gyu claims that was his first impression towards him. When he expressed his anger by hitting the table, the waitress brought his order and laughed at him. When he tries to question her about her laugh, Dong-gyu intervenes and asks them to start the interview since they had enough time to know about each other. As the reporter is about to start, Hank Young gets up and screams on how they can treat someone they have invited with such an attitude. He leaves the scene claiming that it ruined his mood. His sister, after listening to all of this, calls him a jerk and says he was the one who acted rude towards the reporter. Dong-gyu says he provoked him on purpose. She says he needed to teach him a better lesson than that. Dong-gyu thinks it was thanks to Choi Hank Young walking out that he got all the required spotlight, which will make his life easier after he jumps into the industry. He thinks it was all he needed even though it was not a public broadcast, which happened because of reporter Park Jin-chul. He checks his phone, since it is time for his broadcast to start. He gets a call from an unknown number. His sister speculated if it was a call for another interview. A similar voice calls him by his name. He introduces himself as Park Cheon-suk and says that the director wants to meet him. He asks him to meet them at Gangnam tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. When Dong-gyu asks why he should come, Park calls him a jerk and asks where he wants to meet them. Dong-gyu asks why he should care about their business. Cheon-suk asks if he is talking rudely since they were on the phone. He calls Dong-gyu an ugly Korean and says it is just for having a nice talk and they do not see him as a bad guy. He tells him to ask the person who wants to see him desperately that he cannot come to Gangnam that day and cuts him off. His sister asks if he is okay since the person on the phone sounded like a scary person. He tells her he has an important driving license test tomorrow and he has no time to go to Gangnam. When his sister gets shocked after listening to the driving license test, he says it has been a while since he went to the academy. She tells him not to joke with her since they don't have a car. He calls him a grandmother when she sleeps on the couch saying that his brother will get his driver's license and is all grown up. He thinks if they have seen what he has done at the coast that day. Her sister gives her legs and asks him to massage her grandmother's legs so he can have free time tomorrow. Thinking about Jo Hyuk and he didn't expect him to bite him this early, he will be angry and make an issue everywhere if it is him. His sister kicks on his face for massaging her legs hard enough to break them. The next day, looking at his driver's license, Dong-gyu thinks it is the best sight in the world since he was always mocked for not having a driver's license in his previous life. He cannot believe he can get the driver's license right after he passes the test. They have sent him a text message saying that they will go to Bucheon at 2 o'clock, asking him to wait. He thinks they are so desperate to send him a text message and decides not to reply since he is in a hurry. He quickly thinks he cannot do it and calls him. Song Dae-young lifts the call and tells him to go to Bucheon. When Dong-gyu says he has to go somewhere else, they order him to go. He says he doesn't really want to meet them now. They claim he will be happy once they meet. Song Dae-young says he is near the cafe at Nambucheon High School, which is the same school that Dong-hwa attends. At the end, they say he will never know what they will do if he is late. He enters the cafe and they call him to their table. Cheon-suk asks why he didn't greet him nicely since it has been a long time. Dong-gyu replies they were not in a relationship to greet each other. Dae-young claims they can greet each other from now onwards. Dong-gyu comes straight to the point and asks what they want from him. Cheon-suk asks him to behave properly and questions his rudeness in front of them. Dong-gu asks him to behave properly and questions if he is having strength or skills enough to handle him. Cheon-suk gets frustrated since he had even waited for him patiently. Dong-gu orders him to tell his director and his friends that they would be in trouble if they play around. The waitress is sweating while watching the scene unfold. When Cheon-suk catches his shirt, he thinks about his next move and wonders how they knew about the location of his sister's high school. Feeling dirty for letting them go, he twists his arm and asks him to shut up for causing a scene in this place. He orders him to tell him what they want from him since he doesn't have much time. Dae-young walks towards him saying that he crossed the line and tries to punch him. Dong-gu reacted swiftly and was about to land his punch to his face. Suddenly, a voice commands them to stop, making everyone pause. A blonde-haired person in a suit claims he is worth winning the amateur competition and says he likes him. He calls him and offers 100 million won annual salary and 10% bonus work under him. Kyu-hyuk says it's a rare opportunity. Dong-gu claims the amount is too much for a high school graduate. He understands that he knows well, so he thinks the negotiations will run smoothly. Dong-gu asks for 100 million annual salary and a 60% bonus as he won with all KO in his first amateur championship, passed the licensed real estate test with perfect score, and these were achieved in just 3 months. He claims that he has gained a lot of recognition these days. He laughs and then gets serious at him. He questions Dong-gu how can he act in such a way that nothing scares him, just because he has a first. He stands up and says he doesn't know how he has dealt with him and tells him not to worry since he wants to be a new family and doesn't mean to do anything. He asks him if he wants to send his sister to university. He asks him to contact Cheon-suk or Dae-young if he changes his mind later. Both of them threaten Dong-gu. Dong-gu thinks they must be really angry with him since they left without doing anything. He had come prepared in case of a fight and thinks it may happen next time some Kyu-hyuk might have felt pressured to work. He decides not to leave them the next time since this situation might occur again. Taking his order from the waitress, he apologizes for the commotion and leaves the cafe. He recalls the deal which he talked about as taking something from someone by any means without negative impact on his side, which is how SH Real Estate Company handles the situations. The method they use was slightly different from those guys, but it's still the same, where they make sure the victims have no choice. He knows the methods used by them since he was in SH and was one of them previously. He now feels dirty for being with them. Thinking about their sudden appearance at Donghwa's high school, he makes a call to Gi Dong for his help with something. He says if it's about rehabilitating a gambling addict, which he is confident in doing better this time. Dong-gu tells him that it's about something he is good at, which is to beat up Kyu-hyuk. Dong-gu keeps his phone away when he screams that he was almost killed the last time he tried. Dong-gu tries to convince him by asking if he wants to stay hidden for the rest of his life. When he says he is worried about the sudden plan, Dong-gu explains that he had met him recently and gave him an offer to work under him. Dong-gu clarifies he is not interested, but he didn't say it directly. Instead, he gave them a ridiculous condition which made them think about his offer. Ji-dong claims he will also become greedy if he wins the competition like he did. He questions about his broadcast and says he can earn money from it, but he confirms if he is sure to refuse the offer. Dong-gu questions about the reaction Kyu-hyuk will give if he refuses straight away, and says he wants to go and beat them up, even with many people at their place, and claims it will be an annoying thing to do. He sees his sister out of her college and wonders if she is really good since she looks at him. He hangs up the call of Ji-dong and calls her. When she asks what's wrong, he questions if she still has classes since the bell didn't ring. She gets furious and begins to pull his ears for not paying attention to her yesterday when she said that there will be a vacation because of a ceremony happening. When he questions her presence even though they were having a vacation, she says she should go to school because she is the leader of the sports department. She gets angrier for his assumption that she is a busy student who goes back and forth between home and school. Her friends intervene and ask her if this person is her real brother. He then introduces himself as her real brother. Both of her friends claim he is handsome and asks if she has a girlfriend, then turn towards Donghwa, questioning her on why she didn't tell anyone that she has an older brother. Dong-gu quickly swaps his mode and asks if she is embarrassed to speak about him with her friends, claiming that he is fine as long as it doesn't hurt her feelings, while acting cutely. Her friends get all over her saying that they would brag about having an older brother if they have one like Dong-gu. She gets furious with the questions they ask her, Dong-yu quickly changes the topic, hinting towards eating something tasty if they are hungry. Dong-hwa hits him, saying that she won't forgive him for embarrassing her the next time. After reaching their home, Dong-yu says he didn't expect to be bombarded with questions for 2 hours. She says she will forgive him this time since he has already got 2 for interrogation beforehand. Going up the stairs, she calls him to say she was afraid they might think of her bragging too much if she starts to talk about him, and not because of the embarrassment. He thinks she might have thought that he felt bad about it and thinks that he is not that worthy to be bragging about now. He answers his phone call from Gi Dong, who questions about the 2 phone numbers he had sent him. Dong-yu says they were of Cheon Suk and Dae Young's. Gi Dong then adds Kyu Hyuk's minions and asks their next plan of action. With a confident face, Dong-yu decides to get some information from them. Dong-yu is going 2-on-1 with the 2 training coaches of the gym. One of the coaches advances towards him, trying to leave a punch which Dong-yu evades quickly and delivers a left strike into his torso. The coach is out of breath and tries to ask if this is what he got. Dong-yu wanted to try one more time since he thinks the technique is working. Suddenly, he feels danger and evades the kick from another coach from his rear. This makes the coach pause in shock. Dong-yu thinks his senses got better as he sparred more with them. He cannot believe that he can be confident in using his body. Dong-yu lands a kick onto him, which he blocks. The other coach replies that his wrist might get broken. Dong-yu replies that he is joking, and the coach advances at him, claiming it is serious. While his fist is near his face, he quickly evades it and thinks he can observe and follow his movements more clearly. He gets hold of his wrist and plans to perform a shoulder throw, thinking it will end here. The other coach interferes, saying he shouldn't forget about him, and lands a punch onto his face. After getting hit, the other coach gets a chance to choke him. Dong-yu tries to get out, but concludes that he cannot handle their surprised attack. He speculates he cannot win against Song Dae-young and Cheon Suk if he fights with them. The gym director screams to stop their practice and asks Dong-yu to follow him to his office, while the other coach is busy getting himself worked up in front of the broadcast of Dong-yu. The chat named him a comedy master. He says that D-Day's broadcast channel is like his channel and asks them to watch him and spread the video as he uploads it into NeoTube, and also asks everyone to subscribe to his channel. The chat says they will subscribe just to watch D-Day in it. Dong-yu tells them to handle the broadcast since the director has called him. He went into the room after the director. The director asked him if he is bored or if he has other reasons. Dong-yu thinks he might have had some clue while watching his 1 versus 2 sparring, which is as expected of him. Dong-yu tries to cover it by asking if he would ask him the reason if he agrees to it. The director is shocked by his response. He says he is least interested to listen to his reason, and that is up to him. Dong-yu thinks why he did ask him in the first place, and now he's pretending that he doesn't care about him. The director orders him to come to the gym at 9 o'clock tomorrow. He says he will come to his house and bring him here if he doesn't come. When Dong-yu understands, the director asks him to finish his exercises in the morning itself and not late at night, since some of his fans will be coming to the gym in the evening. He advises him to be careful with his fans, as he cannot leave the gym just like he used to do. He also points out to Dong-yu that he is good at self-defense and posture corrections, though he is not as good as the coaches here. Then Dong-yu agrees with him. He says he can show his face to his fans after completion of his training. When Dong-yu says he cannot promise him, the director says there are more people coming to the gym just to see him, so he asks him to greet them warmly and also to be careful. When he understands, the director tells him that he is the gym's mascot and should avoid being beaten. Outside the room, the 2 coaches are fighting and one of them is being choked by the other. He explains it to the broadcast that this is the guillotine choke posture and one can beat anyone even if he is bigger than him. Dong-hwa is managing the camera and the chat is enjoying the scenes. Seeing this, Dong-yu thinks that his sister is working hard and is holding the camera with a serious face. He knew she had talent in this field from the time he asked her to shoot him. He recognizes the atmosphere and the setting is almost the same as in professional areas. Watching an older video which was taken by her, he was amazed to find the shot more comfortable to watch. He wonders if she wants to use her ability to work professionally or is doing it just as a hobby. He decides to support her in any manner since he is the family she has. The coach screams at him to do his own broadcast since he is not leaving the choke on him even after tapping out. Dong-yu announces that he is going to take a break for 30 minutes and whispers something to the coach. son. He then says the coach will entertain them for those 30 minutes to make sure they don't get bored. When Coach Dong Hyun advertises his channel, the other coach says that he thinks Dong Yu's broadcast has ended and claims it's time for his revenge. Dong Yu interrupts the broadcast and then stops the camera safety, announcing that they will be back after 30 minutes. After the 30-minute break is over, Dong Yu restarts the broadcast by himself. However, this time he has dressed himself up. He tells the viewers that he took the break to take a shower and get ready, as he is going out to buy his first car. Dong Yu adds how he recently completed his driving license test, so he wants to get a car. He notes how he is going to buy a used car and asks for the viewers' help in identifying the perfect car for him. The live chat feel that Dong Yu should go for a new car instead of a used one. However, Dong Yu has his reasons for not going for a new car. As Yoon Suk, he had enough experience with driving, so he can definitely go for a new car. That being said, he needs to save money, considering anything can happen at any point. Not to mention, Dong Yu's college fees are also to be kept in mind. Anyway, Dong Yu moves on with his viewers and visits a local car shop. Upon entering, Dong Yu asks the shop manager if they will be allowing him to continue his broadcast. The manager is unsure and asks the boss for approval. The boss is quite chill and green lights the idea, as it allows them to get some clout. The manager takes Dong Yu in and asks him how many shops he has been to before, to which Dong Yu tells him that this is the first one. This makes the manager smirk, and Dong Yu realizes that the guy might try to scam him into getting a bad car. The manager further asks him what kind of car he is looking for. Dong Yu explains how he is looking for a used car in the moderate price range. However, he doesn't want the car to have any damages from previous accidents. The manager goes away for a bit to prepare a list of cars that Dong Yu can look into. Meanwhile, the live chat are fuming at the shady attitude of the manager, even though nothing has happened yet. After a while, the manager provides Dong Yu with the short list. He prepared quite a nice list for Dong Yu, and all of the cars listed were at a moderate price range. This impresses Dong Yu, as the guy seemed like he was nice. However, Dong Yu asked the manager if he could see the listed cars in person. The manager quickly agrees and they go to the site. The first few cars that the manager showed ended up looking not so good. They all had tons of scratch marks and were cars that had went through accidents. The manager made it clear that he wasn't confident about the cars either. Dong Yu inspected the cars properly and said that he didn't like any of them. The manager said that he knew that Dong Yu wouldn't like these cars, but there is one last car for them to check. The live chat aren't sure as to why the manager wasted their time for so long. The car he shows last looks almost new and was way better than the ones before it. The live chat then instructed Dong Yu to check each little details about the car. From the engine to the dashboard to the mileage, everything was checked. All of it came out well, and everyone in the chat, and Dong Yu himself was shocked that a car like that was available at such a modest sum. The manager explains the reason why he showed the car last. It was because he was planning to get it himself. However, the business comes first, and hence why he is ready to sell it. The live chat understands his reasoning for doing it like this. Dong Yu is also satisfied, it seems, as he thanks the viewers and the manager for helping him pick out the perfect first car for himself. However, before he makes the deal official, there was one last thing he wanted to check. Dong Yu went to check what was it like underneath the seats. The chat also emphasized on this. One viewer pointing out how their uncle bought a perfect car, but upon checking the underneath, they figured it was a messed up one. Dong Yu takes the seat off and discovers a huge charcoal mark underneath. The viewers and Dong Yu are pissed off by this. After all, the manager said that he was sure that there wasn't anything wrong with the car. Dong Yu confronts the manager and asks for an explanation. The manager, nervous, asks Dong Yu to turn off the camera so that they can talk in private. The chat advises him not to fall of the weirdo's tricks, but Dong Yu decides to halt the stream for a bit. Just as he does so, the manager exposes his arms full of gang tattoos to intimidate Dong Yu. Understandably, Dong Yu thinks this is quite cringy coming from a grown man. He directly points out the manager's duality depending on whether the streaming is on or off. The manager berates Dong-yu for asking so many questions and finding so many flaws when coming to buy a used car. He thinks the car on offer is rather nice, and that a little mark here and there doesn't change anything. To further impose himself on Dong-yu, the manager says that the site has no CCTV camera and has no black box either. So, if he were to accuse Dong-yu, a streamer, of assaulting him, Dong-yu would be in trouble. Just then, the boss arrives and asks the manager if he is being nice to the customer in a sarcastic way. He further goes on to tell the manager to get it done with quickly. The manager then asks Dong-yu if he was going to buy the car or not. All while Dong-yu was under extreme pressure from the situation at hand. The boss doubles down on wanting things to be solved quickly. The manager tells Dong-yu to just sign the contract. Dong-yu realizes that these people are nothing more than just bullies like Jo Kyu-hyuk. He then comes forward and adds that the car's problematic nature was broadcasted live on stream. Everyone knows that the car was used for self-harm by the previous owner, so him coming out with that will suck for his image, especially after he cut off the broadcast for a private talk. The boss replies saying that Dong-yu can always say that the car comes with a rich history of its own, and cite that as his reason for purchasing it. If he doesn't want to buy it though, Dong-yu should be prepared for getting a beating of a lifetime. Dong-yu analyzes the situation and understands that he has to face 4 opponents at once. He also questions just how many cars have they sold forcefully like this. The manager thinks that none of his business and gives him one last chance to give up and sign the contract. But Dong-yu grabs him suddenly and puts him in an armbar. This creates unrest, as another lackey comes to save the manager. Dong-yu grabs a hold of the guy's shirt and plants him with a classical judo throw. This angers the boss, as he states that he was planning on letting Dong-yu if he signed the contract. However, now that he has attacked his people, Dong-yu needs to pay for it. He orders his men to take out Dong-yu. Dong-yu prepares to fight properly in stance. The manager recuperates and tries to blindside Dong-yu with a punch. But Dong-yu sidesteps to dodge it. The manager tries to follow it up with an opposite hand, but Dong-yu easily captures it. Dong-yu proceeds to criticize the power, speed, and technique of the manager, and knocks him down with a punch of his own. This warrants another lackey to try, but Dong-yu swiftly hits him with a mid-hook to settle him down. All of the guys were left quivering in pain, as Dong-yu notes how there being so many in numbers has led to him holding back on the shots and saving energy. After all, he doesn't want to get caught like he was during training. There's no referee or rules in place for this fight to be fought fairly, so he needs to stay aware or he will end up in a bad situation. The boss then orders all his men to attack Dong-yu at once. Dong-yu prepares well to take them all on. He dodges through the first punch coming his way and masterfully hits the puncher with an elbow on the follow-up. It is then that Dong-yu notices that these guys aren't nearly as skilled as his sparring partners, and that their moves are predictable. Dong-yu proceeds to dodge an oncoming punch to the face and a subsequent attacker with a rod from behind at the same time. He does this effortlessly and without even looking back properly. This makes the rod guy take out his own man, and right away, Dong-yu takes him out with a Bruce Lee-esque sidekick. It finally hits Dong-yu that he was being careless while fighting his sparring mates, as he was sure that they wouldn't hurt him. His carelessness allowed him to get caught by surprise. Meanwhile, the guys who got beat up are genuinely surprised by how good Dong-yu is. They wonder if he has eyes on his back. Dong-yu proceeds to hit the guy who was talking with a straight punch. He then decides to take all of them out and make a swift escape. However, he gets surprised by a sudden attack coming his way, which he manages to step away from. The attack was from the boss. The boss says that he expected Dong-yu to be a stereotypical pretty boy, but in actuality, he is quite good at fighting. Dong-yu understands that the boss is different from the rest, his aura is different. He understands that the guy must possess a lot of experience, and decides to first take out the lackeys. As he runs towards the lackeys, Dong-yu gets caught by the back of his collar, and gets manhandled and thrown into a car by the boss. The boss follows it up by a loaded kick to Dong-yu's face, but Dong-yu manages to dodge it by a bit. This shocks the boss, and he deems Dong-yu to be quite the interesting guy. Back at the gym, Dong-hwa was hitting the heavy bag to prepare herself for the training to come. Park-hoon came to the scene and praised Dong-hwa's hard work. He questioned if she was doing some extra work before Jae-min came to train her. Dong-hwa admits that she is taking Hyun Cheol's help to fix her striking before Jae-min comes. This is due to Jae-min being overly critical about the smallest of details. Park-hoon understands her reasoning and questions the whereabouts of Dong-gyu. Dong-hwa replies that Dong-gyu has gone out to buy a used car for himself. She checks the stream to see that it has gone offline. Park-hoon doesn't see the need to go offline when going to a junkyard to buy used cars. Further on, he thinks that Dong-gyu could have just told him about it, as he has a friend who works in the used car selling business. The scene shifts back to the fight earlier, where the boss is beating up Dong-gyu badly. Dong-gyu notes how strong and experienced the boss is at fighting. Handling just him is a nuisance on its own, but having his lackeys join in on the beatdown just makes it tougher. The boss then proceeds to throw a metal pipe towards Dong-gyu's face, which he barely evades. The boss states how he had wanted to keep a low profile and go about things normally, but Dong-gyu pisses him off. Dong-gyu questions if the boss is trying to take his life, to which the boss says that he just intends to scare him a bit. Just then, Dong-gyu gets a call on his phone. This phone is picked up by one of the lackeys, and he says how the call is by Park-hoon. The guy keeps mocking Dong-gyu, but the name sends a shockwave to the boss system. The boss asks him to hand over the phone to him immediately, which he does. He tells everyone to stop fighting immediately. One of the lackeys doesn't listen and goes to attack a defenseless Dong-gyu, which angers the boss, as he chops him down. Dong-gyu is shocked by the boss action. The boss wonders if Dong-gyu knows who Park-hoon is. He asks Dong-gyu to disclose some information for the betterment of both of them. He asks him which gym he goes to, before asking if he goes to Park-hoon's personal gym. Dong-gyu says that is the case, and this makes the boss worry. He says that they've been having some bad luck as of late. He asks Dong-gyu if he knows Park-hoon. Dong-gyu replies that he does, and that he is referred to as the face of the gym by the man himself. This puts the boss in even more stress, as the phone keeps on ringing. Dong-gyu suggests that he hands over the phone so that Dong-gyu can pick it up, as Park-hoon would be worried otherwise. The boss agrees and tells Dong-gyu to tell Park-hoon that he got a nice car from him. Dong-gyu picks up the call. Park-hoon tells Dong-gyu to go to a specific shop in the area so that he can get a discount on used cars. The place he suggests is none other than the one Dong-gyu is already in. Park-hoon tells him that the boss there is an acquaintance of his. Dong-gyu tells him he is already there, to which Park-hoon asks if the guy tried to mess with him. Dong-gyu takes this opportunity to mute the call and negotiate a new deal with the boss. He lowers the price range and asks the boss to get him a fresh car with no shady history. The boss agrees to that, and so Dong-gyu tells Park-hoon that he just got to the shop and hangs up. After that, the boss shows Dong-gyu a wonderful new car. The car is almost spotless and has little to no issues. Despite that, Dong-gyu makes sure to check it well, which irks the boss. The boss tells him that there is no need to check now, as the car is all good. It was rescued from being seized, and he could have gotten a lot more money for this than what Dong-gyu is going to pay. Dong-gyu questions just why the boss is letting him have this after he learned of his connection with Park-hoon. What is it about the gym manager? The boss is surprised to see that Dong-gyu has no clue on what Park-hoon really is. He gives him some advice though, saying that he should always listen to what Park-hoon says. This intrigues Dong-gyu, who questions what Park-hoon does to command so much respect. The boss says that if he really wants to know, Dong-gyu should ask Park-hoon directly, because he doesn't want to tell Dong-gyu something that Park-hoon doesn't want him to know. Saying this, the boss takes his leave. Dong-gyu is shocked by the stark difference in approach from the boss after the phone call. It makes him even more curious about what Park-hoon is hiding from them. The following day, Dong-gyu takes Dong-hwa to school in his new car. Everyone is surprised to see Dong-hwa coming out of a car and ask her whose car it is. Dong-gyu gets out of the car and is serenaded by all of Dong-hwa's friends. All the girls seem to have a crush on him and want to get noticed by him, whereas the guys also flock around him, as he is a popular streamer. They all want a piece of him, and the people also invite him to come and work out with them. Understandably, Dong-yu is taken aback from the overwhelming attention he was receiving. So, Dong-hwa stepped in and allowed her brother to run away. She was proud of him and pointed this out to be a favor from her in exchange for him dropping her off. This behavior from Dong-hwa really touched Dong-yu, as he promised to be a better brother to her. Following this, Dong-yu drives off to the gym, where he is received well by the coaches and peers. They are all excited to see what kind of car Dong-yu has got for himself. They wonder if it's a fancy sports car because Dong-yu is a streamer after all. Dong-yu makes it clear that he didn't get anything like that, as it is out of his league. He shows off the car he had gotten to the guys, and they are shocked by it. Dong-yu asks if he got a good deal, to which the guys think that it's as good as a freebie for him because the car is very good for its price. Park-hoon joins in on the scene and is immediately ticked off by the scar on Dong-yu's face. He immediately deduced that this was done by the boss, Seon-dal. Dong-yu calms him down, telling him that it was a misunderstanding. Park-hoon is still pissed off though. Anyway, they move on from it, as Park-hoon decides to take care of Seon-dal later. So, Park-hoon steps in the ring to spar with the Dong-yu. As they take stance, Park-hoon tells Dong-yu to always make sure that he is ready when fighting with him. Dong-yu, who wasn't ready enough, immediately gets caught by a straight punch. Park-hoon doesn't stop though, as he starts stacking up combos to hit Dong-yu, who was barely defending himself. Park-hoon pointed out how unprepared Dong-yu was and that he had a weak defense. He kept hitting Dong-yu and even tried to use an eye-gouging maneuver which Dong-yu manages to avoid mostly, but still gets his nose scratched up. Dong-yu was a bit surprised by Park-hoon's willingness to go for his eyes. Park-hoon thinks there's nothing to be surprised about, because going forward in life, Dong-yu will face much worse attacks. He explains how such moves might be against the etiquette of MMA or other combat sports, but the usage is still prominent, which is why Park-hoon wants Dong-yu to learn how to fight, and fight in a dirty manner. Dong-yu understands the assignment. The manager of the gym himself was going out of his way to spar, when he doesn't allow it. So, he decides to take guard and absorb all the punishment coming his way. However, this turns out as good as anyone would have hoped, as Dong-yu gets beaten to a pulp. This makes Hyun Cheol and Jae-min question why Park-hoon would decimate the man he calls the face of the gym. They also worry about Dong-yu's schedule, as he will now be sparring with the manager every morning, have his personal training session in the evening, and then work out with his viewers at night. However, this also inspires Hyun Cheol. He wonders what would have happened if he never stopped and kept on going instead of settling for a semi-final spot. Jae-min also notes that he was quite good himself. Hyun Cheol says that he wants to spar with Jae-min again. Jae-min sees the point, but he thinks it's too much for them at their age, and the gym won't allow it. However, a simple rescheduling will fix that problem. But Jae-min doesn't want to push it at his age, because injuries won't heal as quickly as it did in their prime. He has to think about his future and his family. Hyun Cheol gets the point, but there is something about Dong-yu that makes him want to push the boundaries. Jae-min doesn't have any of it though. Just then, a beat-up Dong-yu wakes up and tells those two to stop arguing and spar with him. They are shocked to see Dong-yu willing to spar again after getting beaten up so badly not too long ago. Dong-yu says that he wants to do everything he can, instead of regretting later. This lights a fire inside Jae-min, who tells Hyun Cheol that he probably wants to try fighting again as well. This makes Hyun Cheol happy, as he starts kissing Dong-yu for making Jae-min realize what he wants. Dong-yu is understandably disgusted by this behavior. Following this, Dong-yu gets into his car with Ji-dong, as the two are about to start the long-awaited briefing. Before the briefing, Ji-dong asks Dong-yu where they are even going, and if going there serves any purpose. Besides that, what bothers Ji-dong even further is that the car they're in is a car that had been used by its previous owner for self-termination. The car looks almost identical to the one from Dong-yu's livestream. Dong-yu didn't want to correct him, and added further to his fear by telling him that it is indeed that car, and that he had gotten it because it was so cheap. This sends shivers down Ji-dong's spine. He wonders if the coal mark is below the seat where he is seated upon. Dong-gyu teases him more by telling him that he should keep quiet because a ghost woman is sleeping in the back seat. Ji-dong is frightened. He didn't believe that ghosts exist, but someone who came back to life was sitting beside him, so he is unsure. Ji-dong wasn't impressed by the teasing from Dong-gyu, so Dong-gyu promised to buy him pork as compensation. Following this, Dong-gyu tells Ji-dong to get started with the briefing that they have. They talk about how there's a strawberry farm nearby and that Jo Kyu-hyuk is looking to acquire it. As the place is not owned by an enterprise, rather being under the guidance of an individual, it's a good place to target. The place has nice surroundings, so the value will be going up in no time. Not to mention, the person taking care of the farm has a wife and a daughter, so he is easy to push around if they push the right buttons. Meanwhile, at the strawberry farm, we see that Kyu-hyuk has already arrived with his crew to acquire the land. He notes how the place is well maintained, so getting work started there will take no time at all. He also knows that his uncle will absolutely love this place, so he goes ahead to acquire the strawberry farm. After that, Jo Kyu-hyuk goes inside with his thugs. They look for the owner, but it is not long before Kyu-hyuk finds him and approaches the guy. He asks the owner, who was working, if he was Park Tae-young, to which he said yes. He informed him that he was Jo Kyu-hyuk of the SH Real Estate Investment Company. He says that they tried to contact Tae-young, but he ghosted them. Tae-young makes it clear to them that he has already refused to sell the land, so there's no need for further talk. He also points out that bringing in thugs won't change his mind. One of the thugs feels offended by this and calls out Tae-young for judging people based on their appearance. He tells him that this is just his personal way of dressing. Tae-young feels guilty and apologizes, saying that he isn't aware of young people's fashion these days. By then, another thug approached Tae-young and told him not to worry about it. The guy then slapped Tae-young hard and dropped him to the ground, before saying that they are indeed thugs. Jo Kyu-hyuk states that this is the correct way of contact with guys like Tae-young. After all, he isn't a client, so there's no need for formalities. Tae-young feels threatened by this and asks those guys if they really feel that he will sell the land after this. The thug makes it clear that he has to sell it to them and that there's no other way out of this. He should just listen to their boss and sell it. However, Tae-young doesn't want to. This is when Jo Kyu-hyuk tells him that if he wants to keep Do-yoon and Eun-ju safe, Tae-young should not make more fuss and sell it. This shocks Tae-young, as he didn't expect Kyu-hyuk to go so far. He asks if they did a background check on him. He then tells them to not touch Do-yoon and anyone else related to him. Subsequently, Tae-young vows to mess them up for acting like this with him. He says he will use all his contacts to make sure the law get to them. However, this makes the thugs laugh. They ask if by contacts, Tae-young means the few prosecutor friends he has. Or is he referring to the one friend who was working in a small-time business for 10 years and now works at restructuring? Saying this, the thug attacks Tae-young for trying to act mighty by kicking him in the face. Tae-young bleeds, as the thug tells him to not play stubborn anymore and get to terms. He assures Tae-young that not a single person would know of this, and that he will be let go safely if he agrees. He shoves the contract into his face and tells him to sign it. Tae-young cries and looks at the contract to see that the price is not ideal. He tells them that the price isn't even half of the current market price. The thug gets mad at him. He thinks that they're being too nice to him, and he is taking advantage of it. He tells him to sign it and get it done and dusted. Tae-young cries and begs for them to at least give him a fair price. He worked very hard on getting this place up and running. He has tons of debts on him, and the amount won't even cover for those debts. However, the thugs are in no mood to listen to him and tells him to just be wise and take whatever money he can through this. Otherwise, it will end very badly for him. Being left with no other choice, Park Tae-young reluctantly stamps the contract. He realizes that this is wrong, but he has to do it for their safety. He blames himself for all of it. According to him, he is ruining the future of his family by doing this, and it is all happening because he is incompetent. After getting everything done and over with, the SH real estate bullies are happy and gets ready to leave the place. Just then, the door to the farm slowly creaks open. Dong-gyu appears in front of him, them wearing a mask and a hoodie. One of the thugs recognize him from his past scuffle with Dong-gyu, and Dong-gyu wastes no time to go after him. He jumps in to throw a flying side kick to him. The kick attempt is blocked by the fat thug, who tries to immediately follow it up with a punch to Dong-gyu. However, Dong-gyu manages to dodge his punch attempt and set up the thug with a hook of his own. Jo Kyu-hyuk asks the other thug if this is the same guy who stole Gray from them at the coastal dock. As the fat guy falls down in front of them, Kyu-hyuk states that the fat guy made excuses last time. He said he was caught off guard, so will it be different this time? However, seeing the impact of Dong-gyu's punch, he realizes that it might not have been a fluke after all. The other thug then brings out his knife and assures Jo Kyu-hyuk that he is better than the fat guy. He vows to take down Dong-gyu with ease. The guy charges at Dong-gyu with the knife, while Dong-gyu dodged his strikes. Dong-gyu understands that a fight with a knife wielder is going to be tough, so he needs to pay attention. After concentrating further, he realizes that he can track the moves pretty easily. However, he is snapped back to reality, as the knife-wielding thug manages to cut him on the arm. The thug arrogantly says that there is no point in dodging a knife. No matter how skillful you are, a knife attack has no ends. He then asks Dong-gyu to answer his questions. He asks Dong-gyu's reasoning for coming to their place again. Does he intend to get beaten up that badly? If so, he is going to get it. To show it off more, the thug charges at Dong-gyu again and tries to strike him fatally with the knife. However, Dong-gyu is focused as manages to evade all the knife attack, frustrating the thug. Eventually, Dong-gyu makes enough of an opening to throw a left cross flush on the thug's nose, breaking it in the process. The punch makes the thug go down of his knees. As he bleeds out from his broken nose, the thug only gets more pissed off. He asks Dong-gyu if he really thinks that landing a lucky punch on him ends the fight. He declares that it's far from over and comes back swinging with his knife with much more vigor this time. However, by now, Dong-gyu has him figured out. He easily tracks his movements to dodge the strikes. Suddenly, Dong-gyu catches an opening when the guy tries to stab him, so he throws an uppercut to the guy's elbow, disarming him. The thug falls down and screams out in agony. He exclaims that it hurts, and that if it weren't for him pulling back his arm, it would have been broken. He was doing this so that the fat bully could use the distraction and hit Dong-gyu from behind. The fat thug tries to hit him with a double axe handle, but he is too slow for Dong-gyu, who easily evades the blow. This opens up an angle for Dong-gyu, who capitalizes on it with a hook, knocking the fat one down. Knowing this is the opportunity for him to strike, the other thug picks up the knife and goes for one last dash towards Dong-gyu with his knife. However, Dong-gyu simply catches him with a side kick to the chin and knocks him out. Jo Kyu-hyuk was terrified seeing all this take place. He realizes that Dong-gyu will attack him next, so without much thoughts, he tries to run away. Dong-gyu knows that this is the real Kyu-hyuk, someone who acts cool and ruthless, but is a coward. He is a bully who acts cool, but is the first one to run away when things go wrong. This is why, when he was Yoon-suk, Dong-gyu never cared about him. Meanwhile, Kyu-hyuk makes it out of the gate, but is tripped by Ji-dong's leg and falls flat on his face. Dong-gyu notes that he doesn't really care about him now either. As Dong-gyu comes out, Ji-dong says that the fall was better than he expected. He thinks it serves Kyu-hyuk well, as he is a bad guy. He also lets Dong-gyu know that he did a good job in hurting and halting Kyu-hyuk. Dong-gyu praises him for the good work. As Ji-dong was referring to Dong-gyu as Yoon-suk, Kyu-hyuk was confused. He couldn't believe that the person from the coastal dock was none other than Yoon-suk, and refused to believe it. He asks Dong-gyu that he was recording a video of the incident before the fight, so is he looking for money? Dong-gyu tells him that the only way he can pay for this is through his life. Jo Kyu-hyuk asks Dong-gyu if he thinks he will be fine after taking him out. Just then, Dong-gyu asks him if there is any point of using honorifics to talk to trash people. Someone asked that question to him a long time ago, and his answer was that even though he works in a trashy business and is doing bad things, he doesn't want to behave like a trashy person himself. This was his answer, and Jo Kyu-hyuk realizes that it was Yoon-suk. But to him, it made no sense whatsoever. However, Dong-gu declares that he is indeed Yoon Suk, and that he is back to life. This was the final words Kyu-hyuk heard before getting his lights knocked out. Following that, Dong-gu burns the contract that Kyu-hyuk made Tae-young sign. He tells Tae-young that he will be fine for now, and that Kyu-hyuk won't bother him for a bit. Tae-young expresses his gratitude, saying that he can't believe that he can go back to being normal again. Dong-gu warns him, saying that the SH real estate are going to send in more people, but he needs to beat them. Tae-young asks him how he can beat those people. Dong-gu suggests that he puts the land up for sale to other real estate investment companies too. This will make them check it out and try to buy it. Tae-young can decide to sell it at the highest price or keep it if he wants. But this will make sure that the SH real estate have to compete with others, rather than directly attack him unfairly. Tae-young once again thanks Dong-gu for everything he did for him. Dong-gu tells him not to give the CCTV footage of this to anyone, as they're going to look for it. Tae-young assures him that he won't, because the cameras are already broken. Following this, Dong-gu and Ji-dong leave the place. Ji-dong tells Dong-gu that he has changed a lot and that the previous him would never give advices to others. Dong-gu states that being born again makes a huge change to a person's life. Ji-dong asks Dong-gu if he saw hell during that time, to which Dong-gu says that he did. He says that this is hell, and that's why he is here in the first place. Later on, Dong-gu sits in his room and rewatches the clip he captured at the scene. Jo Kyu-hyuk could be seen harassing Park Tae-young pretty clearly, so the video came out perfectly fine for him. However, the question on his mind now is how he will use this footage to his advantage and against the SH real estate. He thinks of the conversation he had with Ji-dong earlier. They packed the thugs into the passenger seats of a car. After doing that, Ji-dong asks Dong-gu what they plan on doing next. Dong-gu tells Ji-dong to drive the car to somewhere secluded and leave it there as trash. Ji-dong isn't so sure about that, as he fears that the thugs will come back into consciousness while he is driving. Dong-gu told him that they've already tied them up for that exact reason, but Ji-dong is still skeptical. He instead asks to drive Dong-gu's car, which Dong-gu doesn't want. He assures Dong-gu that he will drive safely and make sure that there won't be any scratches on his car, but it's turned down. Ji-dong then asks him about the video he shot and how he intends to use it. Dong-gu says he has no idea as of yet. Ji-dong suggests that they upload the video on the internet so that it goes viral and damages SH real estate, as the owner's nephew can be seen bullying a normal person. But Dong-gu doesn't want to do that. From his perspective, something like this can be easily covered up by Jo Kyu-hyuk's large network, and won't even faze the SH real estate. It's the kind of news that can be taken care of with ease, so it will briefly flash on the news before getting lost in obscurity. They don't want that to happen. The video is valuable for them, and they must use it well so it has long-term consequences. Dong-gu says that he will figure out a way for it to be used as a sword now, and even as time goes on, it should operate as a spear for them. But before that, they need to take care of the thugs, so he tells Ji-dong to follow his orders. Back in real time, Dong-gu wonders what that will be. He has been thinking about it a lot, but still hasn't found a way to utilize the video in a solid manner. Just then, Kim Dong-hwa comes into the room all excited. Dong-gu shuts down the video and hopes that Dong-hwa didn't see the Jo Kyu-hyuk footage. However, Dong-hwa got the wrong idea and assumed her brother was watching adult content. She told him that it's okay for him to watch it, but to keep it in moderation. Dong-gu is confused, as she talks about how it's all fine as long as his preferences aren't problematic, because that will get him in trouble. Besides, he shouldn't watch it too much, as it will make his bones weaker. Dong-gu was initially confused, but later got what she meant, and asks her what she thinks of him. Dong-hwa says the whole situation is weird. Dong-gu tries to explain that he wasn't doing anything like that, and that he isn't that type of a person. But Dong-hwa doesn't buy it, as every guy is into that sort of thing. As Dong-hwa leaves, Dong-gu realizes just how embarrassing the situation was. He understands that the mind of a person going through adolescence is filled with tons of weird thoughts and perceptions. It also makes him wonder just what does weirdos watch to get into trouble and come up on the news. This suddenly reminds Dong-gyu that he can use the news broadcast as a vehicle to attack SH real estate. So he decides to call Gi Dong. He calls him, but for whatever reason Gi Dong doesn't receive the call immediately. This is weird, because usually, Gi Dong doesn't waste any time in picking up the call. So, it makes Dong-gyu wonder if something really went wrong. Just then, Gi Dong picks up the call, and it turns out that he wasn't picking up because he was watching the live concert broadcast of Hatsune Miku. So he is busy. This appalls Dong-gyu, but he tells Gi Dong that he is sending the video footage of Jo Kyu-hyuk to him through email. He wants Gi Dong to send it to someone else using Park Cheon-suk's email. Gi Dong asks why it must be done with Cheon-suk's email, to which Dong-gyu says that it will spice things up. However, Gi Dong is too consumed in the concert that he is watching, and pays no attention to what Dong-gyu was asking. Dong-gyu told him to do it quickly, as it was not something they can sit back on. Gi Dong doesn't really get it, but he tells Dong-gyu that he will be sending it now. After hanging up, Dong-gyu feels disgusted by how Gi Dong is laxing out and watching concerts when someone so important is on hand. Just then, he sees that Gi Dong has sent him an email. He wonders what it is, as it doesn't seem to have any important file. He opens it to find that it's a video of Hatsune Miku that he was recording from his TV. Right when that clip popped up, Kim Dong-hwa came back to Dong-gyu's room to give him the scarf she got for him. But she is shocked to see that her brother is into Vocaloid idols. She doesn't know how to react, and just says that he had no idea that her brother was not into real girls. Saying this, she leaves, as Dong-gyu fails to explain himself. He reads the rest of the mail, which says that Gi Dong sent this to him because he wants him to know the real power of Miku Hatsune, disgusting Dong-gyu even more. After that, Dong-gyu gets ready to go outside. A week or so later, outside, Dong-gyu catches up with his gym mates before he prepares to leave from there. As he goes, he sees the road covered up by snow. This makes Dong-gyu realize that Christmas was right around the corner. Because he has been spending so much time on the gym, he didn't even realize when time flew by and winter arrived. As Yoon Suk-il, he never cared about Christmas or New Year's. It was just another day for him. He was all alone. Now though, he has people that he cares about, so the equation is different. He decides that during these times, even annoying people like Gi Dong deserve a reward. So, he dials up Gi Dong's number and calls him. Gi Dong picks up, and Dong-gyu tells him that it has been a week since they've met. Gi Dong questions if he still wants to hit him with a baseball bat. Dong-gyu assures him that it's nothing like that, and that if he wants any gifts, he can ask Dong-gyu. He will get it for him for Christmas. This warms up Gi Dong, who says that Dong-gyu is the one for him. This disgusts Dong-gyu, and makes him regret not hitting him with a bat in the first place. However, just then, Gi Dong informed him that he got a reply on the email he sent to a guy using Park Cheon-suk's email address. Gi Dong informs him that the reply was short, and only asked Gi Dong who he was. Dong-gyu realizes that the guy is quick-witted, so he easily deduced that it wants Park Cheon-suk who sent the email. He states that the man who challenged the chairman is no fluke after all. Gi Dong asks what he should do, to which Dong-gyu tells him not to worry. He did enough by setting up the bait, so now they need to wait. After that, Dong-gyu tells him to think about the gift, and Gi Dong hangs up with a romantic tone, which ticks Dong-gyu off. After that, Gi Dong decides to watch the footage from the black box of Jo Kyu-hyuk's car. There, Kyu-hyuk tells his lackey to take care of the first matter, and then go for Kim Dong-gyu. The lackey notes that Dong-gyu isn't an ordinary guy. Kyu-hyuk says that wasting someone like him is going to be sad. But if he refuses, they will kidnap his sister and make sure he never sees her again. Gi Dong is shocked after hearing this. Meanwhile, at the SH real estate office, Jo Kyu-hyuk is pissed, as he is covered in injuries. His lackeys inform him that they haven't yet found the guy who caused this. Kyu-hyuk snaps and asks why they haven't managed to find the guy even though they have spent so much time doing so. He questions their work ethic and their effectiveness when it comes to him. He asks if they think he is a fool, to which they say no. So he asks why they haven't found him yet. They state that they used perfect angles to avoid the camera so they couldn't track him. However, they've sent out kids looking for them, so it is only a matter of time before they find him. Kyu-hyuk asks just how he can trust incompetent guys like them. He wonders how does the hooded guy even get information on him. He asks if the two of them have been betraying him. Both of them deny it and state that their phones have been hacked, so they're using that to frame them. Kyu-hyuk thinks they're just excuses. They then say that it's obvious that they're getting intel from Ji-dong, because it seems they're working together. Kyu-hyuk berates him for stating the obvious, and says that it's clear that they're working together. He curses Ji-dong for tripping him, as after that, he was beaten to a pulp by the hooded guy. The beating was constant, and that's why he is left in this state. He hasn't slept a wink since that incident, as he is scared that the monster would find him again and hit him like that. So he wants him. He wants his head, and he wants it as quickly as possible. He drinks down alcohol as he asks those two to find the guy. He needs to find him and Ji-dong at all cost. He says they must get the job done no matter what, and that he wants no excuses. The guys agree to take on the mission and are told to leave the room. One of them asks what they should do with Kim Dong-gyu. Angered, Kyu-hyuk throws the glass at him and tells him to focus on the matter in hand, as Dong-gyu can be taken care of later. They leave. However, Jo Kyu-hyuk isn't satisfied. He can't trust two guys who were beaten by the hooded guys twice. So, he realizes that he needs to do it himself. He needs to send other people after the hooded guy and Ji-dong to catch them off guard. So, Kyu-hyuk hits up a number and asks a mysterious person for their help. He states that he doesn't trust his lackeys to be of any use when it comes to this, so he must acquire the help of the guy he is talking to. On the other hand, the two lackeys are talking to each other on the hallway. Dae-young thinks it's quite weird that both the hooded guy and Dong-gyu are boxers. The fighting styles are similar, and it's definitely weird that they're running into skillful boxers. Cheon-suk asks him if he thinks Dong-gyu and the hooded guy are the same people. Dae-young says that there is a possibility that they might be. However, Cheon-suk doesn't think so. He states that if Dae-young thinks this way, he should change his thought, because the hooded guy is ruthless and not someone who is a martial artist. An athlete would hesitate twice before breaking someone's arm, as it would get them expelled, but he didn't. He further adds that the hooded guy doesn't seem like someone who has morals and trains to get out of the nerdy image. He is a veteran street fighter who knows his way. Dae-young stays in silence for a bit. This makes Cheon-suk tell him that if he doubts him so much, why doesn't he fight Dong-gyu and find out? Dae-young refuses to do so, as it goes against the boss order. Dae-young then tells Cheon-suk to gather all of their men. Cheon-suk asks why, to which he says he wants them to trace Ji-dong to learn more, but they can't let their guard down as the hooded guy might show up. Cheon-suk makes it clear that if they do find the hooded guy, he is Cheon-suk's prey, because he broke his arm and made him like this. Dae-young pokes fun at him and asks if he can do anything in his current state. This angers Cheon-suk, who challenges Dae-young to try him. However, Dae-young tells him to calm down, because they can't fight among themselves. He further notes that with his broken arm, Cheon-suk won't be doing anything. Besides, is there any difference between him taking on the hooded guy and Cheon-suk doing it, as long as they get him? Saying this, he gets inside the elevator and says that he is warning Cheon-suk because he cares about him and doesn't want to further damage him. Cheon-suk listens with displeasure before getting on the elevator, seemingly agreeing with Dae-young. On the other hand, Dong-gyu is at his house doing pull-ups, of which he has gone past the 220s. He thinks about the video that Ji-dong sent from Jo Kyu-hyuk's black box. It makes him understand that if they hadn't attacked Kyu-hyuk there, Dong-hwa would have been in trouble by now. This angers him beyond comprehension, as he decides to teach Kyu-hyuk a lesson, vowing to turn him into a living corpse the next time they see each other. Dong-gyu keeps on going and ends up hitting 240 pull-ups. He was doing this in front of the live chat, so they were shocked to see that he managed to do so many. One user notes that he did 8 sets of 30 pull-ups, which is insane. Furthermore, he also did it with 130 kgs as extra weight to up the intensity. This made everyone wonder just how strong Kim Dong-gyu really is. Dong-gu finally comes back into his own and starts talking to the live stream chat. He talks about how it must have been boring to see him pull-ups for so long. He didn't even say a thing during all of that. After that, he asked the chat to wait a bit as he was soaked in sweat. The chat wondered if he was going to take a shower, to which Dong-gu clarified that he wasn't going to take a shower and was just going to change his t-shirt. Saying this, he starts t-shirt off. This brings out a strong reaction from the chat, as they stated how what they were seeing then wasn't at all boring. Some wanted to see him strip more, while some of the girls just wanted to get married to him and enjoy the chocolate bar molded abs of Dong-gu. Even the male audience were quite taken aback by Dong-gu, as there were people out here who really appreciated the body. Some even wanting to use a body like his for once in their life. Dong-gu told them not to get jealous and start working out to achieve a body like his. He uses this opportunity to put on a shirt himself, as he recommends the chat to watch some YouTube channel that teaches them how to work out. The chat also reacted strongly to this, as they didn't get why he was promoting other content creators. The rest expresses their problem. How they were not able to find a proper instructor. Soulless workout videos are boring and hard to watch, whereas watching follow-along videos were tough too, and getting a personal session with a creator was not very engaging and required a lot of money. Dong-gu checked out all the issues and decided to pick out a solution that helps him too. He asks the viewers to join him every Tuesday to Thursday at a particular time in a follow-along live stream. There, they can all train together. The chat reacts positively to this, and this makes Dong-gu happy, as he had just gained a new type of content to do now. People in the chat were hyped up to join him and drop some weight, as they were being called things. One user notes that their younger brother is ashamed of their excessive weight. Seeing the younger brother part reminds Dong-gu of his own younger sister, Dong-hwan. He then proceeds to ask the chat if he can look for their advice. The chat wondered if it was about cars, but it was not. Dong-gu asked the chat what he should get as a gift for his younger sister for Christmas. This stops all the talk from the chat and makes Dong-gu wonder if he asked something weird. To explain himself better, he elaborates to the chat, saying that he is just looking for a basic gift to thank her for her support and nothing more. The chat starts making fun of him, as they all start suggesting playful ideas of wanting to beat up their sisters. Brothers explained how it shouldn't even cross a brother's mind to buy something for their little sister. Whereas, the girls talk about how this is uncommon, as the only gift they get from their brothers are wrestling moves. Dong-gu understands that his relationship with Dong was vastly different to most siblings, and decides to change the topic. So, he asks the audience again if they have any good suggestions for cars. The chat wondered why he was asking for a car again, and if he wanted to change it. Dong-gu explained that it was for someone else in the gym, because the brothers' automobile shop had closed down. The suggestions start coming in. A user donates 100 balloons and asks Dong-gu to check his DMs. Dong-gu thanks them and checks the DM to see an almost new BMW car being put up for sale. The guy wanted to sell it because he had to go abroad, and so he offered it. Dong-gu thought it was almost brand new and was sure that his gym bro would like it. So, he immediately texts his gym bro about the information and says that just this will be enough to convince him. Just then, there's a knock on the door. The chat wonders if his gym bro got too excited and came for a visit. However, it was just a delivery man. The delivery man tells Dong-gu to sign the paper and take the package. He also asks for an additional autograph from him, as he recognized him as fitness streamer D-Day and identified as a fan. Dong-gu told him that he doesn't have a sign, he can just write his name. The guy agrees and he does so. The guy then leaves happily. Dong-gu smiles and realizes the magnitude of 300,000 subscribers, as it meant that even people nearby recognized him. He then prepared to come back, when he saw the chat still going on about the brother versus sister debate. Dong-gu came forward and told them to stop fighting. They notice him and stop. Dong-gu tells everyone that he just received a package. He then showed them that it was his real estate agent certificate. He thanks everyone for supporting him with his gym and education. The chat is overwhelmed with this. They are proud of Dong-gu and congratulate him. They also tell him to use his words wisely from now, as he is a real estate agent. Right then, A user named Hey-Ho sent a message asking for Dong-Yu's help. Dong-Yu asked them what it was about. Hey-Ho wrote how they're struggling with their landlord. They had made payments to the landlord for months, but the landlord denied it. They showed the landlord proof of it happening and tried to meet face to face, but the landlord was stubborn. He wants them out. Now their moving date is near, and they don't know what to do. Dong-Yu considers the situation for a while before telling Hey-Ho that he will be handling it. After that, we can see Duck Bay, the streamer, was waiting for Dong-Yu in the parking lot. Dong-Yu arrives there and they greet each other. The user Hey-Ho was Duck Bay, and he is the one Dong-Yu has to help with the landlord issue. Duck Bay expresses how it was surprising for him when Dong-Yu hit him up first to have a meeting. Dong-Yu tells him that there was no way he was going to sit still when Duck Bay told him about his big issue. Duck Bay is glad and praises Dong-Yu for being as nice as he is. He then tells Dong-Yu to follow him, as he was going to give him a tour of his house. Once in the hallway, Duck Bay suggests they start streaming this occasion for the viewers. He suggests that they start off here in the hallway, and once inside, the stream can proceed as an hour tour. Dong-Yu thinks that's a good idea and is on board. Duck Bay clarifies that he is asking Dong-Yu to start the stream on his channel. However, Dong-Yu doesn't want that. According to him, it should be done by someone who is experienced at collaborations, and that is not him. Duck Bay says that Dong-Yu is already familiar with his channel, so it's not a big deal. Dong-Yu asks Duck Bay about his streaming schedule and how he hasn't been making videos as of late. Duck Bay explains that it is because of his personal problems that he stopped streaming. The landlord told him that the money he paid won't be refunded, so that had him worried. Dong-Yu tells him to turn on the stream and broadcast the procedure of him solving the issue live to the audience. Duck Bay understands just how sharp Dong-Yu is. Not only is he helping Duck Bay out, but also making content out of it. Eventually, Duck Bay agrees as he can't deny Dong-Yu, and so for the first time in ages, he starts a stream. Initially, Duck Bay was feeling awkward, as he hasn't streamed in a while, but the viewers' response was largely positive. They were waiting for a stream by him to check up on him. Duck Bay finally appears in front of the camera and tells everyone that he is doing just fine thanks to their wishes. He then pumps himself up to do the intro again, and so he does. He does an energetic intro which is received well largely. They like his cuteness. Duck Bay subsequently introduces the guest of today's collaboration stream, none other than D-Day himself, Kim Dong-Yu. The chat goes crazy seeing the handsome Dong-Yu, claiming that he will look good even if he wears a rice bag. Duck Bay jokingly asks the audience just what it is that differentiates someone like him and Dong-Yu, to which Dong-Yu replies saying that even Duck Bay has his own charm that is cute. The chat doesn't seem to agree with that, as they don't think Duck Bay stands anywhere close near Dong-Yu. Following this, Duck Bay invites the viewers inside his house alongside them. They all enter the house, and their Dong-Yu gives a housewarming gift to Duck Bay. The chat thinks this shows just how nice of a guy Dong-Yu is. Duck Bay tells him that it wasn't necessary, but Dong-Yu tells him that it would have been awkward to come empty-handed. He also promises to get a more proper gift for him next time. They proceed with the house touring portion of the stream. Dong-Yu is quite impressed by the house. It has 3 rooms, a bathroom and a veranda, all in roughly 105 square meters. Duck Bay tells him to feel at home. Dong-Yu realizes that the house layout is quite old, yet the house still feels very nice. It makes him wonder if it has been renovated some time ago. Despite the bad exterior of the house, the interior looks good. Even the chat like the house. They say how it is beautiful, and that they can't believe that a house like this is not getting sold. Duck Bay unpacks the gift that Dong-Yu bought for him, and with the drinks in hand, he offered him to sit down, so the two of them can talk about the matter. However, Dong-Yu does not want to indulge in these things. Instead, he wants to get to the meat and potato. The chat were interested in seeing how Dong-Yu does here, as he is a newbie to the game. Dong-Yu directly asks Duck Bay if the landlord raised the rent of the place in recent times. Duck Bay is shocked to know that he has figured this out, as he had not told Dong-Yu of this. But yes, Duck Bay does confirm that the landlord had raised the rent of the place. Not only did he raise, but he raised it by 50 million won, which is a ridiculous sum, and more than any other house in the vicinity. The chat is stunned to know that the rent of the place was raised by such a large amount, and blame the landlord, calling him a fraud, and understanding why it is not getting sold. Duck Bay further goes on to explain how he used his subscribers to send a proof of the payment, but every time he did so, the notice was returned. Dong-gyu immediately deduces the matter, and asks if the owner was absent every time he had sent the proof to his place. Duck Bay is stunned to see how Dong-gyu had figured out something like that, but Dong-gyu plays it off as being a common occurrence. The chat are pleasantly surprised by Dong-gyu too, as they did not see a newbie coming out as so ready for something like this. He must have really put in a lot of effort in studying the subject, they thought. Dong-gyu asks Duck Bay if there is any evidence through messages or KakaoTalk texts that show that Duck Bay had warned the landlord about breaking the lease. Duck Bay confidently says that he has proof both on normal and KakaoTalk texts. Dong-gyu concludes how one cannot be called a fraud just for delaying through payments, and that a situation like this is civil. So, it should be solved in a normal and quick manner. He subsequently asks Duck Bay how far away is the moving date for him. Duck Bay responds by telling him that it is about 10 days away. Dong-gyu understands that there is not long left for them to solve the matter, as the new tenant will be coming soon. So, he asks Duck Bay if he has enough fund on him to save himself for now. Duck Bay admits that he does have enough money to keep things under control for now. The chat is relieved to know that he at least has the necessary money, or else he would have been in deep trouble by now. Dong-gyu then gives Duck Bay the lease agreement, and another file for him to keep. Duck Bay gets the lease agreement, but he asks what purpose does the other file hold. Dong-gyu tells him that is a list of things that Duck Bay needs to do. He advises him to attach these things to the video while editing, as this will make it easier for the people to understand it. Duck Bay reads the file, and is immediately flabbergasted. While Dong-gyu tells him to get ready to go to court, Duck Bay drops the file, as he is shocked to know that they were going to the court. Later, after getting the court work done, Duck Bay once again started streaming. He looked considerably more worn out after the court work. He was quite confused by all the things that happened, all the hard legal terms. He could not grasp anything. The chat praises Dong-gyu for being so good at his work, despite being new to the profession. Duck Bay ponders if he is the dumb one, or if Dong-gyu just damn good. The chat does think that Dong-gyu did a wonderful job though. After a while, Duck Bay asks Dong-gyu just how is he so good at his work. He just passed the exams to be a real estate agent this year, so how has he such developed skills? Dong-gyu smiles and says that it is because this is his second crack at life. The viewers find this quite funny, as they also talk about wanting to be reincarnated to be as good as Dong-gyu. Anyway, as time goes on, Duck Bay asks Dong-gyu what they were supposed to do now. Dong-gyu states that they have managed to gain level grounding thanks to the court work. So, now that they are equal, they can go and have a talk about the matter. Following this, Duck Bay and Dong-gyu arrive at the place. However, the place is not really fancy. Duck Bay questions if this really is the place, to which Dong-gyu confirms it. The chat are divided on their opinion on the place. Some of them do not understand why the landlord would live in a junkyard, whereas some other people said that it could be possible that he chose the low-key area to hide himself, when on the inside it very well could be a palace. However, one user asked how does Dong-gyu know about the landlord's address, as even Duck Bay does not know. Duck Bay notices the message and asks the same question to Dong-gyu. Put on the spot, Dong-gyu explains how he had done some background research on the landlord before coming to meet Duck Bay. Duck Bay connects the dots and understands why Dong-gyu was late to come to meet him. The chat praises Dong-gyu for his thinking and the way he prepared for the scenario. Dong-gyu adds how he thought this would end quickly, but it seems like it will take time as all sides are being careful. After this, Dong-gyu gives Duck Bay a paper chit. Duck Bay wonders what it is, so Dong-gyu tells him that it is the number he got when he visited the real estate. Duck Bay asks if this is the trump card that they need. The chat also wondered if one could call the number if the landlord refused to return the money. A flashback is shown of Dong-gyu going around places to gather information on the landlord. A lady said that the landlord is a very tough person to get a grasp of. He is someone with a bad temperament. As for his address, she doesn't want to disclose it because it's personal. He talked to a shop owner who said that the landlord is the richest man in Suwon, so even if he doesn't want to stand out, he does. However, he has been having troubles of his own lately. Dong-yu asked him what it was, but the guy refuses to elaborate further and left, citing that he had a customer waiting. Dong-yu tried his best to take time and get information on the landlord, but he couldn't. Just then, he ran into this beautiful young lady, who recognized him as D-Day. Not only that, she claimed to have information on the landlord, as she worked at his place. She basically gave him the information about the landlord, and also told him that the landlord doesn't intend to return the payment. Further on, the lady flirts with Dong-yu, gave him her number, and told him to hit her up when he wants to. However, Dong-yu told her that he will be giving the number to a cute and nice guy instead. That guy is Duck-bae, and the number he has is hers. Learning this, Duck-bae is jubilated. The viewers are also happy and cheer him on the quest to get the girl. However, Dong-yu tells Duck-bae to get on track, as they were about to go attend to some serious business. As they go there, they see a woman on her knees, asking the landlord for some money. She says the money is necessary for her, as she has to buy a bag for her grandson. The landlord ruthlessly denies her request, telling her to pull her rickshaw and leave immediately. The woman pleads, stating that her grandson's bag is torn, and requests for something, but the landlord won't budge. He says that to run a business, one must dig down the ground, so he can't help her with her issues. The woman was still persistent, so the landlord pushed her down, cussed at her, and told her to leave. Seeing this, Dong-yu understands that he can't just start a conversation here, and decides to watch it till the end. Duck-bae is soft-hearted though. He asks Dong-yu to join in, but he turns him down. Even the chat was mad at the landlord, and wanted Dong-yu to step in. But Dong-yu explained that if they try to make their way in here, they can face a lawsuit, so it's better to watch. Duck-bae was still worried, as the things were getting extreme between the landlord and the woman. The chat was pissed off at Dong-yu. They didn't expect him to be a coward. One user questioned if there is any point of learning martial arts if one is just going to watch injustice take place. The landlord once again tells the lady to leave. Unable to bear it, Duck-bae offers the lady some money to buy a bag for her grandson. The chat cheers him on for this, and declare him as a genuinely nice soul. The lady is happy too, but with psychotic eyes, she asks Duck-bae if he had more. Reluctantly, Duck-bae got out some money, which the lady snatched from his hand and left. The chat were left a bit perplexed after this. The landlord lashes out at Duck-bae for being an idiot. Duck-bae says he isn't an idiot, and that the landlord was going too far. The landlord then reveals that the lady is a psycho who was lying. She isn't going to buy anything for her grandson. She even got kicked out of her house by her husband. She is an avid drinker who has gone mad. Duck-bae is left shocked, and so are the viewers. Duck-bae asks if that means that the lady was going to misuse his money. The landlord confirms it, saying that the lady is now going to use this money to buy a week worth of booze, and only drink and not eat anything solid on top of it. The landlord goes on to call Duck-bae an idiot again, saying that no wise man would give their money away to someone they have no background on. The viewers are shocked to know the truth about the situation and regret what happened. Anyway, the conversation moves forward, as the landlord deduces that they are surely not there to do junk business, so what are they there for? Dong-yu speaks up and tells him that they are coming from the particular apartment and want to talk about the payment being made and how it is not being refunded now. The mere mention of this topic pisses off the landlord so much that he yells at them wildly. He asks them if they are there to threaten him about it. Dong-yu makes it clear that they are there to have a normal conversation and that they are here to settle things in a good way. The chat are appalled by the landlord's behavior and think of him as someone who can't have a civil conversation. The landlord makes it clear that he has no intention of speaking to an idiot like Duck-bae. Dong-yu swiftly replied, saying that if he does not want to talk to Duck-bae, he should just talk to him, a real estate agent, and that they can handle it in the court if the landlord intends to do so. The fact that he is a real estate agent and mentioned the court makes the landlord wonder if they are looking to go forward with a lawsuit. Dong-yu clarifies that they have not filed a lawsuit and that they have only filed for lease registration as of now. However, they will decide on whether or not they want to file a lawsuit in the future based on how their conversations go. This makes the landlord even more irate, as he points out how they are here to threaten him after all, and that their talking is just a facade. Dong-yu says that if he does not wish to talk any further, then they can just talk about some business. He mentions that he has just the kind of land that the landlord is craving for. He mentions that he has two kinds of land on him. The first one is perfect as a burial site, whereas the other is good for children to play around freely. This seemingly pushes a button for the landlord, who asks him if he has done extensive research on him. The chat are convinced that the landlord has had enough, and that the fists are about to fly. However, Dong-yu calms down the situation by telling the landlord that this is the best opportunity he will get to take care of two lifelong aspirations. The landlord is skeptical and said that he just does not give money to anyone based on their talk. Dong-yu asks if he has to show him the land first, to which the landlord says he is quite sharp. Dong-yu says that this is a skill that is required to succeed in the business. The landlord is unsure, as he says that Dong-yu is doing nothing but involving himself in matters that he has nothing to do with. The chat see his reluctance and immediately start talking about how he should just shut up and take the land. Following this, Dong-yu asks the landlord if he is free today to see the land in question. The landlord asks Dong-yu if he is the eager type of person. To follow up on that, Dong-yu lets him know that he does not like to keep work pending, so he gets it done with as soon as possible. The landlord says that he has some work to attend to today, so he cannot go with him to check out the land. The chat is shocked to hear that the landlord has his own work too. They thought he does the junk business as a hobby, but maybe he is serious about it. Dong-yu asks him if he is free to check out the land tomorrow then, to which the boss tells him to come see him at 7 a.m. tomorrow. They all mutually agree to that. However, the landlord makes it clear that he only expects to see Dong-yu, because he does not like to deal with idiots like Duck Bay. This expectedly hurts Duck Bay, and the viewers also feel bad for him as he was scammed for money, and now he is being called an idiot. However, Dong-yu comes to his defense, saying that he does not think that Duck Bay is an idiot. If anything, he is just a nice person who helped someone out. Just because the person deceived him does not mean that he is at fault. The landlord argues that it is indeed his fault, because one should do some thinking without giving in to these things. The chat sides with Dong-yu, as they also believe that the victims are often treated badly by people who say they are at fault for being deceived. Anyway, the landlord tells them to get lost, as he does not have time for them, and tells them to make sure that they are not late tomorrow. Later, as Duck Bay and Dong-yu were going back in the car, the stream continued. The viewers tried their best to cheer up Duck Bay, but he was still sad. He considered himself an idiot for doing what he did. He wonders if the woman is going to buy alcohol with the money she took from him. Dong-yu tells him that it was not his fault. He was just being helpful. Duck Bay says that Dong-yu warned him against saying anything. Dong-yu explains that it is just his nature to see how things unfold rather than getting involved. He says that he had no idea that the woman was going to do something so bad. This makes Duck Bay feel more secure and the fans agree. But in actuality, Dong-yu did get a hunch, but telling Duck Bay would make him sad. The talk was then going on about the landlord and his rude behavior when Dong-yu informed him about the landlord's goal. He wants to create an orphanage for children. That is his goal. This shocks Duck Bay, as he had no clue that the landlord was doing such a noble deed. Even the viewers were shocked by this bit of information. They were thinking about how one should not judge a book by its cover. Dong-yu read the room and understood that there is no point in continuing the topic and wanted to change it. So he suggested to Duck Bay to call the number he gave him earlier. This immediately boosts the mood of Duck Bay as he gets flustered. Everyone in the chat get riled up as well. Duck Bay is unsure though, he does not know if he should go through with it. Dong-yu assures him, saying that if there are so many people backing him, he should definitely give it a shot. Duck Bay gets ready, and the chat cheers him on, so that he can finally get a girlfriend and escape the matrix of singlehood. The next day, Dong-gyu, along with the landlord, went to see the land. It was a place unlike any other. Dong-gyu first found this land when he was Yoon Suk-il. The owner of this land never put this place for sale on the market, because he was fine with it not being sold. Dong-gyu asks the landlord what he feels about the place. He reckons the landlord's wife would love this place. The sea remains unchanged all year. However, the rest of the place changes its color and look every season. The landlord takes his time before telling him that his wife would have loved the autumn leaves. He praises Dong-gyu for having a great eye for these things. His perception was on point and he worked a charm on him. So, without talking any further, the landlord told Dong-gyu to prepare the contract. For this land, and the one they saw before this, he wants a deal done regardless of the price. He doesn't want to hold back on spending money because this is for his wife who suffered all her life, and his kids who are injured. However, he sternly warns Dong-gyu to cut down on the commissions. Dong-gyu straight up denies his warning. He states that to be a real estate agent, one must join a big firm and earn from there. However, Dong-gyu doesn't have a job at a firm. The landlord asks if Dong-gyu wants him to refund the money he got from Dukbae as his commission. Dong-gyu doesn't say anything, but the landlord understands what this means. The landlord sighs and calls Dong-gyu's way of working to be peculiar. He then offers Dong-gyu to come and have something to eat with him. Dong-gyu lets him know that he is aware of a good restaurant nearby. The landlord tells him that he will be doing the paying, as Dong-gyu worked very hard and deserves this much. He tells him to eat as much as he likes without getting shy. Dong-gyu says he won't refuse that, and so he gets ready to finalize his first contract. Afterwards, they go to a restaurant. As they arrive there, Dong-gyu tells the landlord that they'll be talking about the deal while eating. The landlord asks why he wants to talk while eating. In reply, Dong-gyu informs him that the restaurant owner is also the owner of that land. They go inside and order some food. As the manager comes to pay a visit, the landlord quickly asks him to sell the land. Dong-gyu wanted to talk after they were done eating, but the landlord jumped the gun. The manager quickly denied his request, saying he won't sell it. The landlord tells him that he needs it, to which the manager makes it clear that many people say that. However, he isn't going to sell it to anyone who says that they need it. Dong-gyu wonders if this is going to get them kicked out, but he still asks for the manager to listen to the landlord's story. He tells the landlord to go ahead, and so he starts. The landlord goes on about how his wife suffered her entire life because she married a junk dealer. She never got anything she wanted, but she was still loving. Furthermore, she wanted to have kids and raise them, but due to her frail body, they couldn't conceive. Despite that, she wanted to raise parentless kids. However, he was a bad husband, so he scolded her. By the time he realized, it was too late. She left him. Now he understands what she meant, and to bring her the happiness that she always desired, she wants to get her a house with a sea view. Not only that, but he wants to build an orphanage at the 3 sections so she can finally raise kids. The landlord gets very emotional while telling his story, and ends up crying as he requested to buy the land. Dong-gyu knew that the story came off as cliché, and some people would still refuse him as it is his fault for hurting his wife. But the restaurant manager is soft-hearted, and he guessed right, as the restaurant owner was in tears. He quickly agreed to sell him the land and brought extra food for the landlord and Dong-gyu. He promised to sell him the land for the same price he got it for. The landlord insisted to at least pay the legit price, but the manager said it wasn't necessary because he doesn't need the land. The two of them argued on the price for a bit, but don't